This week on the podcast, we are venturing to a cabin in the woods to read from a scary book and fight the evil dead. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Dissect That Film Podcast, where we dissect the good, the bad, and the ugly of your favorite films and film franchises. I am Brett Parker. Joining me, as always, my wonderful co-host Dan and Angela of DNA Gaming.
Hello. How's it going?
And returning for his second podcast episode, we got Wyatt from Cinema Trip Reviews back. Welcome back, Wyatt. Yay!
Thank you for having me. It's good to be back.
It's good to have you. I know a lot of people who are huge fans of the Evil Dead franchise, and I have ideas in my head who I wanted on for the rest of the franchise, but I was like, you know what, for the 2013 remake, I thought immediately of you. Don't know why, but I was like, what a good movie to bring Wyatt back on. For
hey,
one,
man, I'm glad.
I know that you talked about it. Yeah, I think that was it. You had mentioned how Evil Dead 2013 was like high up for you, so I was like, perfect. That's literally how I figured out how to find guests for the show, especially people that we've had on or people that have talked to bring on the show. It's like, I just wait for them to talk about it on Twitter. Like, oh, they really like that movie.
Then you make a mental note.
Yes.
For later.
As soon as I see a post, I immediately like, all right, well, I guess that's what we're doing. That's who I'm contacting right now.
Yeah, man, this is definitely one of my favorite horror remakes that's been out there. This movie, I remember it did get a lot of flack, like around the time that it came out. I mean, it wasn't like a bomb or anything, but no. The Evil Dead purists, all about Bruce Campbell and everything, they were trashing the movie. But it seems like, I mean, the movie is in no way like Halloween 3, but it seems like it's kind of getting like a renaissance. Like, people are actually loving this movie now, it seems like.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It definitely would. I mean, the crazy thing about this franchise is I feel like everyone's lists are completely different. Like, there's it's very rare to see like somebody's list of ranking this entire franchise, being the same. I've always talked about how I like Evil Dead, the original Evil Dead, a little. It's very little when it comes to the difference between the original two, but I like the Evil Dead just a little bit more because to me, it's more of a horror movie. And that's what I want from this. And I like the comedy factor when they go to Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness, but it's the same thing when we talked about Terminator and we talked about Alien. Like, that's why I like those movies more than I like their sequels, even though their sequels are more well-loved. It's just a preference, I guess. But to be honest, this is the only Evil Dead movie I had not seen all the way through. I had seen I went and saw Evil Dead Rise in theaters. And then last year I went through the original trilogy and fell in love with this franchise. And I was mad at myself that it took that long to see. Oh,
so it was like pretty recent. Yeah, you got to see all of them. Okay.
Yeah, it was last year that I literally binged them. They were on HBO Max, and I think they're still, they just went back on there. But I went through the entire trilogy and I was like, why? I had watched so much horror as a kid. How did I not see these? Like, why did it take so long? I don't know if I just had no interest or like no one I knew talked about them enough. Because it was always Freddy, Jason, Chucky, those type of things. So those are the ones you're always watching. But like Evil Dead, I guess I just wasn't on my radar.
Yeah, I saw them when I was in like high school, and at that time I was the same way. I was like, why haven't I seen these earlier? Like, I've been watching all these other horror movies, but it's like took me a while to actually watch them. And then like the TV series came out, which is like amazing as well for a whole different reasons.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's more Bruce Campbell.
Yeah, you can't complain about more Bruce Campbell.
Good soup. That's all I got. Sorry. I would have mentioned I was younger when we watched the Evil Dead franchise. We watched it together. We watched the first one with some roommates and the second one and the third one, like back to back to back. Like, that was my introduction to that franchise. And this I hadn't seen this one all the way through until today, and I haven't seen Rise yet. So
yeah, I mean I I mean, I wasn't I mean, I was spoiled kind of, I had watched videos on this. I did watch I did watch the kill count on this movie, even though I hadn't seen it. Cause to me, I don't care. Like, especially it's a movie for one, the reason why we're covering it is because it's already 10 years old, which is just mind blowing. So and this year I wanted to cover a lot. There's a lot of amazing movies that are celebrating anniversaries this year. And so I wanted to kind of highlight those. So, celebrate an anniversary this year, so why not cover it? And it's a huge difference from what we're covering in between or on the outsides, just cover the last 3 Pirates of the Caribbean movies. They're like, Evil Dead. And then next week it's like back to Pirates. Like,
well, the first one at least had something to do with the dead.
Dead pirates.
Yeah. It's not scary. It's not scary. So Evil Dead. This is called Evil Dead, not The Evil Dead, which was the title of the original. Originally it was a remake, titled a remake, but now with Rise being out and some of the things that are mentioned in Rise, this is a reimagining / sequel to the original Evil Dead films, because in Army of Darkness, spoiler alert for all the rest of the Evil Dead franchises, in Army of Darkness, there are 3 Necronomicons. And supposedly you have the ones from the original trilogy, or at least the first 2, and then one that is used in Army of Darkness. And then there is the one used in this movie, and then there's one that's used in Rise, which is, they're all different books. So that puts them all in like the same continuity. It's weird. Some people like it, some people don't like it. You can call it a remake, you can call it a reimagining, you can call it a sequel, call it whatever you want. I like the fact that I want to view it as a reimagining, because I mean, I guess you could call it a remake because it follows the same premise, but it's not the same characters, which I feel that's truly what a remake would be, because a lot of times remakes just use the same, like, the very loved Nightmare on Elm Street remake, which is one I actually enjoy. I mean, I'll be that guy. But they use the same characters, or some of the same characters from the original film. But this took that horror element that the original had and fucking turns it up to like 1,000. Like, this is a straight up horror movie. There's no comedic elements of this, which the original didn't really have much comedic elements
didn't
as
really
well.
Notice any at all in the original. It's been like about 6 months since I watched it last.
And as the original was about a bunch of teenagers going to the woods. None of them look like teenagers. They go to the woods to hang out at this cabin, and then, shit happens. This has got a lot of other elements to it. You have our main character's drug addiction. You have, just the relationships between other characters. It's a whole thing. There's a lot of things going on in this movie in a very short amount of time. This movie is only an hour, and I think the unrated version is only an hour and a half, or hour and 39 minutes, which is the version I watched, because I got that beautiful Scream Factory Blu-ray back there, that 4K Blu-ray, which it's the unrated version plus theatrical. Unrated version, literally, because they added an alternate ending that happens.
Oh, for real?
That happens after the mid credits. So, but we'll get to that once we get to the end of this movie.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I don't think I saw that one. I have just the theatrical version.
That's what we watched.
Like I said, I hadn't seen this all the way through, so it wasn't like a shock to me. I was like, oh, I've never seen that before. I was just like, oh, okay. I thought, yeah. So this movie was directed by Fede Alvarez, who would go on to do Don't Breathe a few years later, along with Jane Levy, our main character. She would return for that film. He was more well known for doing CGI effects in his prior movies. I know the reason they chose him to do this movie was because of a short film he made, which he did all the visual effects himself, all the CG work and all that stuff. And Bruce Campbell, Sam Raimi, and who was it? Rob Tappert, the original creators of The Evil Dead. They saw this short film and were like, yeah, this guy needs to come in and do this. And the funny thing is he's so well known for CGI, but yet he pretty much uses all the practical effects in this movie. And the reason he does that is kind of in honor of the way Sam Raimi made the original Evil Dead back in 1981. You know, they didn't have CGI back then, so it was all practical.
Mhm.
And God, I love the practical effects of the original Evil Dead. So
Yeah.
good. But it's also awesome that we get the original creators plus the man who has led this franchise since 1981 to be involved in this movie. I think that's where some remakes kind of go wrong, or even, I mean, sometimes you have the creators come back and it still doesn't go right. But I think that's kind of maybe where like the Halloween franchise ended up, you know, because John Carpenter wasn't totally involved in that. But he had a good reason. He just didn't give a fuck anymore. He just wanted that.
Like, give me the money. Show me the money.
I'll maybe make some music for you, but I'm gonna need that check now. You guys fucked me in the 80s, so I don't want to help you guys no more. But also, you know, Nightmare on Elm Street, you know, Wes Craven wasn't involved in that remake. You know, of course, Robert Englund wasn't involved in it either, which is a huge thing, even though Jackie Earle Haley is fucking awesome as Freddy.
I liked him as Freddy. It was just everything else was bad.
Bad script. We'll move on. So this was written by Fede Alvarez, which was pretty cool. The fact that like they didn't have one of the original writers do it, like he got to come in and direct it, but also this was his story, which doesn't venture too far off from the original story. But like I said, there's added elements to it. It's not just your basic kids go to a cabin and shit happens. You know, you have all those different factors that lead into all the crazy that happens. This ran at 92 minutes. That's the theatrical version. It's 96 or 97 minutes for the unrated version. Budget is $17 million, and it made a total of $97.5 million. And that's why we got a sequel. But the crazy thing is we got a sequel 10 years later, which is wild. To be honest, it got to the point where it was like this Evil Dead happened. And then it was like, it just was so long. You just kind of forgot. You're like,
yeah.
You were never. I was never the one going, I wonder when they're going to make a sequel to the 2013 Evil Dead. It just kind of showed up. It's like, hey, another Evil Dead's coming out, and they're like, okay. And I saw the trailer.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm on board.
Just do that, man. Give us like a 10-year gap between each of them. Fuck it, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only talk really was like when the series came out, they're like, oh, how are they should find a way to like get Mia with Ash at some point. Like, so they have like some kind of movie or, you know, spinoff or something. And now everybody's like wanting Ash and Mia and then the chick from Evil Dead Rise to like team up or something. It's like, I could totally see them doing that at some point if Bruce Campbell decided to come back, which I don't think he will at this point.
He supposedly he came out and said he retired as Ash. He will produce
after the show.
He will produce and stay on board with the franchise as long as it goes.
Yeah,
but
apparently he's saying there's going to be like an animated series, so he's going to be coming back as Ash for that. So he's just not going to do like a live action Ash anymore.
I mean, you got to think when you look back at Bruce Campbell's career, if he didn't do Evil Dead, do you think he'd have the career he had?
No.
What the fuck?
Nothing against him. I think he's a good actor. He's a fun actor. He's fun to see on screen. He did Burn Notice, if that's the show you're thinking of.
Yeah,
he did that for
Burn
a while.
Notice.
No, it was after Evil Dead 2. It was on television, something. I can't remember what it's
Briscoe County Jr.
That's what it is.
Oh yeah.
It was like 2 seasons and it got canceled or whatever.
But yeah, but for Bruce Campbell, it was like the first 3 Evil Dead, and then it was it Bubba Hotep? Was
Bubba Hotep,
big one for him.
Darkman that Sam Raimi directed.
Yeah.
Maniac Cop.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, Maniac Cop. I forgot he was in that. Yeah. But I mean, anyone who is a horror fan, anyone who is a fan of this franchise knows Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell, pretty much best friends. They've known each other since they were kids. So that is kind of the whole thing. The original Evil Dead was it was almost like a student film. It was like the way that he made that movie. It was literally a student film made for nothing.
Oh yeah.
It literally got an NC-17 rating when it came out.
Fuck yeah, dude.
It literally did not get shown in a lot of theaters. And then when they went to go, it was so successful though. Like people liked it so much when he got to make Evil Dead 2, they gave him more money and then a studio backing, and he pretty much was like, well, not a lot of people got to see the original because we got that rating, so it couldn't go in a lot of theaters. So I'm just going to remake it. Because Evil Dead 2 is just a remake of the original, except they add comedy to it. It's a horror comedy instead of just being a strict horror. And Ash is more of a prominent character. Ash is in the original Evil Dead, but he's just the last man standing. He does not do a lot in that movie.
No.
Scott is more of a prominent figure in that movie than Ash.
Yeah.
Everybody else, but Ash became like
Scott's an asshole.
Scott's a dick, man.
Stop such a dick in that movie.
Stop reading. Stop listening. Stop listening. He turns it off. I told you to stop. And then Ash, who's been listening the whole time, he's like, I told you to turn that off. He's like, you never said shit. I can't wait to go back. I can't wait to go back and cover the original movies. They're great. But this movie was released April 5th, 2013. It was yeah, it's just me. I know, don't worry about it, Dan.
I know. We see it.
But it premiered at South by Southwest on March 8th, 2013. Yeah, I mean this. So when Bruce Campbell actually sent out an email to all the cast once everybody was picked, he sent out an email saying this is going to be one of the hardest movies you're ever going to make in your entire career. It's going to be grueling because he's just taking it from his experience of making at least the first two. Because I think Army of Darkness probably wasn't as bad. I haven't really looked into that one too much because I know that one is kind of, there's people who love Army of Darkness and then there's people who's like, not a big fan of that one because the tone is a lot different. I thought it was really fun because it's one of those ones you kind of just turn your, like, don't think about the other two. It's kind of its own thing. But yeah, he told him, he's like, this is going to be hard for you guys. It's not going to be an easy job because there's going to be a lot of blood and you're going to be covered in it for a long time. It's going to be crazy. And Jane Levy, who plays Mia, who's the main character, I watched a lot of the behind the scenes that's on the Blu-ray. And there's one where it's like a day in the life of her, like one day of shooting. And it's literally the scene where she's underneath the Jeep trying to pull herself out and it's just raining blood. And she's trying to she's trying to act, but she's constantly being showered in blood. And she's like, it's just pretty much my entire shoot time, which is me being covered in blood, my hair being sticky, them having to put the makeup on for all the different versions of her throughout the movie. This says, she goes through the gauntlet. And the fact is, it's like, she comes back 3 years later to work again with Fede Alvarez. And I think after that movie, there was some sort of strain between them. And I think it was more on her side because of either they weren't going to bring her back for the sequel because her character survives at the end of the first Don't Breathe. And something happened where their relationship was kind of strained. But she has been very vocal since Evil Dead Rise came out about people calling for the whole team up of Ash and Mia and I can't remember who the
I don't remember her name either.
The final girl character is from Rise. But she's been very vocal on Instagram and stuff like that, like supporting the film and talking about her experiences on Evil Dead. Fede Alvarez, though, we've talked about him a couple times because he is currently filming the new Alien movie, which,
yes,
from what I saw, it takes place in the time frame between Alien and Aliens. So I'm very excited. There's going to be two Alien projects going on pretty much at the same time because we got a TV show being done by the guy who did Legion on FX. And that's supposed to take place between Covenant and something else, or between Prometheus and Covenant. And I'm like, bring David back. Bring David back.
Well,
our favorite character.
I've heard they're trying to link the old movies and the new movies. Yes. And I just tell them not to fucking do that shit. Just stop.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
It's dumb.
Now that's like the first movie he's directed since Don't Breathe, right? Because I don't think he directed the second one, did he? He's just been producing a bunch of stuff here since the first one.
Yeah, because he did. What movie did he produce? He produced a horror movie.
He produced Texas Chainsaw.
Yes,
the Netflix
one. 2022 Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
He produced another horror that I wasn't really into as well. And that's where I was like, I need him to come back and direct something else because I like pretty much all the movies directed.
So he directed The Girl in the Spider's Web, which is it was a reboot of Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Yeah, it's like one of the sequels, I think, because there's a couple different books.
Yeah, because Evil Dead, because this movie was his first theatrical film. And then it was Don't Breathe, The Girl in the Spider's Web. He wrote Don't Breathe 2.
Okay.
He was a producer and he wrote the story for Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then he's doing Alien. Whatever.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what he does with Alien.
Romulus, I think is the name of the movie. He also directed a couple episodes, or an episode of From Dusk Till Dawn, the series.
Oh, okay.
Some show called Calls I've never heard of. And then
never heard of that.
He directed reshoots for that Chaos Walking, which was a movie with
never heard of that one.
Tom Holland and Daisy Ridley. It was a weird movie about like this woman crashes onto a planet and all the guy's thoughts you can actually see and hear. Like they can't, like anytime they think of something, you can actually hear and see it. Like it's only the men, and this planet is just full of men, I guess. I don't know. It was weird. I never saw it, but yeah.
Sounds like the sequel to like What Women Want with Mel Gibson.
What are you talking about? They did a What Men Want. Did you know that?
I didn't.
Oh my god!
I didn't know that.
Oh, why?
They should just name that movie because it's all just a planet full of dudes. They should just call it Sausage Planet, and everyone will think it's a sequel to Sausage Party.
Oh no! Oh, so this movie stars Jane Levy, who, like we stated, she was in Don't Breathe along with this, but she does mostly television. She was in Suburgatory. She was in Shameless on Showtime for a little bit, and then her last show that I remember seeing commercials for was called Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist, where literally she like gets in some weird. Listen, it might not actually be the plot of the show, but that's what I think it is she like has some sort of accident, and her life is just now every time she like has conversations with somebody, it like turns into a fucking musical, and it's not for me.
That's weird.
But she's gorgeous, so I would probably only watch it for her. We have Shiloh Fernandez, who plays David, and we'll talk more about how much he is great in this movie. Oh God, so boring. What other things have you done, David? He was in the video game. Cool. He was in a show called Jericho, which I watched, which had Skeet Ulrich in it. United States of Terra, and that's the only important thing we need to talk about when it comes to that, dude. We have Lou Taylor Pucci, who plays Eric. He is in
the worst character in the movie.
Oh, I
hate that dude.
I mean, I don't like him for different reasons than I don't like David.
Yeah.
I'm looking at his roles here. Not anything I know of other than Fanboys from 2009, which was that weird movie about people going to the
trying to steal the Star Wars movie.
Yes, for episode 1. Yep.
He's in the show You.
He's in SVU. Oh, okay.
No, the show You.
Oh, You. I thought you said SVU.
Or he was. He was in it.
Yeah, for one episode because he was the villain. I don't know. That's just a guess.
No,
we have Jessica Lucas. I know her probably most of anyone because she was in Gotham. Don't remember what her character's name was, but she was in Gotham. She was also in Melrose Place and Clover. Oh, she was in Cloverfield too. Okay.
Yep. I recognize her from The Resident. I watched that.
And Elizabeth Blackmore, who I guess was on Supernatural in The Vampire Diaries. This was one of 3 films she was in. Her last film was in 2015. And she is another character you go, wait, she's in this movie?
Body count.
So crazy thing, this movie used so initially the report was there was 70,000 gallons of blood used in this movie. Fede Alvarez said, nah, it was more like 50,000. There was only 200 to 300 gallons of blood used in the original Evil Dead. 50,000 gallons of blood. I mean, there's a lot of fucking blood in this movie.
It wasn't just like 20 people making it in the woods before, and now they're like, we could just ship all these containers of blood out.
So good.
Well, true, because like I would be disappointed. It probably didn't happen, but in my mind, in my head canon, so like when they started filming the scenes where it's raining blood, anytime they do that, they just cranks Raining Blood by Slayer like instantly, like before the scene starts.
Every single time I watch this movie, I think of that every time.
Yes, I'm glad I'm not the only one.
No, as soon as that scene hits, they need to just add it to the soundtrack.
Oh, yes, and because
the house is on fire.
Yes, and because you mentioned filming in the woods, I always need to mention this when this is brought up. But the original Evil Dead was filmed the next county over from us. So
that's cool.
Yeah,
that's
Hamilton
awesome.
County. over
Yeah.
Did you go up and try to? Because I know like the cabin's not there anymore, but have you like gone up to like the location at all?
No, apparently I've heard rumors that it's like belongs to somebody and they get pissed that people try to go up there because people try to go up there. So I don't
makes
know.
sense
It's all
then.
I've heard allegedly. So
I mean, I get
Yeah.
it. I get it because most of the time with those things, people will vandalize the area, especially if it's in the woods, and it's just so obnoxious. People just can be so annoying about that stuff. Just like enjoy things, okay? Like when people go visit the Nancy Thompson house from Nightmare on Elm Street or the house from New Nightmare.
yes.
You know, enjoy things. The Poltergeist house, you know, things like that. Enjoy them.
Yeah.
Don't be a dick. All right.
It's like those articles you see that social media versus what it really looks like, and you see all these like the beach, glass beach or whatever, and it doesn't look anything like that because people are like,
What's Glass Beach?
It's where it's this beach that is full of like glass, but it's like rocks that look like glass. And there's nothing left there because people have come and picked through.
Yeah, that's what I heard about like the Evil Dead cabin. Like people would just come and like just take pieces from it, like rip the floorboards or just pieces, and like you could find them online. Like people were selling them. I remember at one point years ago, you could like there's a certain site you could buy like pieces of the Evil Dead cabin for a certain amount, and it comes in like an actual like official box labeled and like authenticated and everything.
Just leave
It's
it
like
alone.
why?
I know. I
guess,
hear you.
like, you never really know if it is true or not. But
Yeah.
So, do we have anything else we want to add before we jump into this plot? Oh, actually, let's talk about what we thought about the movie. I almost forgot about that. Sorry, guys. Wow.
Like, ooh,
so
I
much
hit a home
talk, so
run.
much talking here. Let's talk about our thoughts on this movie. We'll start with our guest, Wyatt. What's your history with this movie?
I love it, man. I mean, I've always been an Evil Dead fan, so I mean, like right when this was coming out, I went opening weekend to see it. And like I said, like to the Evil Dead, some Evil Dead purists, you know, was hated. Some people liked it. I absolutely loved it because I like you said, they went back and Fede tried to do capture what Sam Raimi, his original idea of Evil Dead was back, and they just didn't have the means of doing it back in like what was it, 79 or 80 when they made it.
Yeah.
So I mean, and not only that, like you mentioned, where they use pretty much like 90% practical effects for the whole thing, that even just made it even better for me. Because I'm one of those guys that like, I love the practical, crazy gore fest effects and everything. And that's why I love the original Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2, because of the outrageous gore and like the crazy camera angles that Sam Raimi uses and everything. But just like the way, I like how there was more depth to the story. There was a reason for these characters to be at the cabin and everything. Just the way out there, different atmosphere of the movie as well. It's very like claustrophobic in some sense. Jane Levy is amazing in this movie, specifically in one scene that we'll get to. But they have her doing so many different things throughout. So I don't know. She's my favorite character of the movie, but overall, I think Fede Alvarez did an amazing job with this, just capturing like the music and the essence and everything great about Evil Dead, with that comedy kind of set aside a little bit. Because to me, you don't need to have comedy in an Evil Dead movie. I guess if you have Bruce Campbell, you do. You need to have that kind of slapstickiness.
Yeah.
But as far as like going forward with the Evil Dead franchise, I am totally fine with having like an all-out, you know, horror movie gore fest going forward. And that's exactly what we had here. You don't need too much story, but it helps instead of just, oh yeah, these guys are just at a cabin for a weekend and they found a book.
You want to know how stupid I am? I just realized that you're wearing an Evil Dead shirt.
Yeah.
Did you not hear me say I wanted his shirt because it's awesome?
Yeah, I was probably doing something, Angela, and probably not looking, and he was adjusting his camera. I didn't see it. And he's also has his movie back there. I see that too.
Yeah, I put it up here.
Yeah.
The original one.
No,
I'm so
shirt is
observant.
awesome.
Yes, it is awesome.
But yeah, I just love the way the movie looks too. It's just so gritty.
Yeah. There's no sunshine in this movie.
No,
Not at all.
and it just goes so fast. It's paced so well too.
Yeah. All right, Dan, Angela, who wants to start?
You want to go first?
I can go first.
Go ahead.
Loved it. I love the visual effects, the gore. What's her name? Jane Levy was phenomenal in her portrayal of her versus not her.
Her versus her demon self.
Yes.
Her evil self, her Evil Dead self.
There was a couple of times where one in particular I had to look away.
One?
No, like I don't do eyeballs.
I'm glad it wasn't the eyeball. I'm glad it wasn't
I
the
can-
actual eyeball. It was right below it.
I
and was like,
can,
"Whew."
but I can wear contacts. I can watch people put contacts in, but when it comes to trauma to said eyeballs, I can't. So that was, but there was a couple of times where we were both like, oh,
Yeah,
and you can physically feel
it's rough.
what's going on.
It's rough.
So great. But yeah, definitely up there in my I never was really a big fan of Evil Dead, just because I was introduced to it, I guess, later on. Kind of like Parker, I was older when I watched it. Stop it.
Stop being judgmental, Dan.
I just said so.
Stop being judgmental with your eyes.
Oh, you don't have to like it.
But see, you knew about it before.
Close your eyes and look away while she talks.
You introduced it to me after you had. So there's a few parts of
the second one. That's the goofy one.
Yeah,
Yes.
like
That's not the first
The second one, I was just like,
she doesn't like the humor.
The second and third one are the horror comedy. Well, third one is I think straight up comedy.
If I'm watching
comedy.
If I'm watching horror, I want it to be horror. If I'm watching comedy, I want it to be comedy.
That's fair.
Makes sense.
So you're not a big fan of horror comedies, like period?
It depends.
All right.
I just wasn't a fan of Evil Dead 2. So, but
That's a controversial statement.
I know,
Boom.
and he's the one that threw me under the bus
Boomer from
about it.
Boomer from Podcast in the Woods is not going to be very happy about that statement. He's probably going to be like, "Well, I wanted to go back on that show, but not anymore."
If he wants to come back on, I will excuse myself.
I'll leave.
Right, but you need to be ready to record, and right when he gets here, just take your headphones off and walk. Don't even say anything.
You're like, where's she going?
I listened to their episode on that. I was like, ooh.
Yeah. I mean, he talks about Evil Dead 2 like I talk about Jaws. It's just passion.
Yeah.
I mean, and you like what you like.
Oh no, 100%. I mean, there's a lot of people who don't like Evil Dead 2. Like I said, I like
Yeah.
Evil Dead, the Evil Dead more than I like Evil Dead 2. It's not by much, but I just like the aesthetics. I'm with you. I like more of the horror aspect of it. Like Evil Dead, Evil Dead is it's scary. Where Evil Dead 2, it has its moments, but it's more about the slapstick sort of. And then, there are great
I'm not
scenes.
a huge fan of Army of Darkness. Like it's okay, but it's nowhere near as like Evil Dead 1.
It's still very entertaining. I enjoy Army of Darkness a lot. It's just not, to me, it doesn't feel like an Evil Dead movie. Other than there's Deadites in it and Bruce Campbell's there.
I would put like this one over Army of Darkness in my rankings.
I might have different opinions at where I am in my life, because I'm pretty sure when we watched it, I grew up in a very religious household. So I went back and forth between, well, I shouldn't be watching this, or it's okay to watch this. Now I don't give a fuck. I mean,
I don't give a fuck.
Now watching it now I probably could make a different opinion.
Which one? Any of them?
On any of them.
There we go. Cover the franchise. Make it happen.
So
there you go.
We're going backwards because I did a video on Evil Dead Rise, and now we're doing this. We're just gonna go backwards. We're gonna do Army of Darkness next. Evil Dead 2, Evil Dead.
Let's do it.
Please. Gives me an excuse
to be honest, I mean, other than the beginning of Army of Darkness connecting to Evil Dead 2, it doesn't matter. Like when it comes to like covering Army of Darkness before Evil Dead 2. All right, Dan.
I'm good.
I don't want to cut. Okay,
No,
I want to make sure she spoke her piece.
Spoke my piece.
Okay. I wasn't working the movie. I was actually running a cinema when this movie came out. Didn't watch it because I don't do scary movies at theaters. I just don't. I'm a coward. I've said that before, but it's not my thing. So, having seen this now, Parker.
Parker's wife.
He's muted. Yes.
My son's bedroom is down here now, so I'm just waving.
So it was him.
You're good. You're good. I figured that's what it was. But I did see it when it first came out, though I heard good stuff. Had many people leave I remember this. I had some people just like hang out in the lobby because they just couldn't deal with it, which I get. It helped me any like I don't want to watch this shit, at least not in the theater. And so I saw some scenes which we'll talk about when we get to it. But I really thoroughly enjoyed this movie, and I know we haven't done like right now in my mind where I would place the films. I'd probably do the second one as my absolute favorite, and like my most minute amount under that would be the original, and then just a hair under that would be this one. And then Army of Darkness would be underneath it because I haven't seen Rise.
That's exactly my rankings, pretty much. Like on any given day, 2 and 1 kind of flip flop for me. Like it's that close.
They're both fantastic.
Exactly. These movies are very interchangeable, and like as far as like quality wise.
But that's the thing is this is I mean, and it's been stated by so many people that I've seen on Twitter, you know, and any social media when they talk about the Evil Dead franchise. This is a franchise where every movie in the franchise is good in some way, shape, or form. Like even if you don't like Army, like even if Army of Darkness isn't on the same, you know, plateau as 1 and 2, it's still such a fun movie. Yeah. It's a very entertaining movie that really keeps you entertained the entire way through. And as somebody who has seen Rise, and you know, Wyatt's seen Rise, he did an episode himself on it. I think Rise is really good. And to be honest, you know, not to kind of show my hand, but like I actually like Rise probably just as much as I like this one. Like it's pretty even keel. Like I think the reason I do is, and we'll talk about it more as we get into the plot, is performances. I think at the beginning of this movie, some of the performances are just so just boring. Like some of the characters are just like, they are literally reading from a piece of paper and there's no emotion, and it kind of sucks. But as it progresses, it gets better. You know, it keeps getting better. Where I think the performances in Evil Dead Rise are solid all the way through, even if there's not as much of the gore and stuff like that. You know, I think they're like Evil Dead and Evil Dead Rise are kind of, to me, like Evil Dead 1 and 2 are. They're pretty close. It's not much of a margin between them.
Yeah.
But like I like the characters. I didn't find this as another remake in recent history. Was I really like the Friday the 13th remake, 2009. Thought it was a great movie. And the one thing I noticed about this movie is outside of some actions, specifically of some characters later in the movie, none of the characters in this came off as like, oh, I fucking hate that character because he's a shitty person. Or like, oh, here's the asshole character. We just can't wait till he gets killed.
Yeah.
Like it's nothing like that. At least I didn't feel. And like you said, the characters had reasons to be there. It wasn't just like you said, just go to the cabin for no reason. Like everything felt thought out. Like it wasn't just do a remake with like really good blood and guts and have like one really good fucking actor in it or something.
Yeah.
I like the pacing of it was really good. I like how how I feel they made some scenes from the original. You guys probably know what I'm talking about. A little more correct for the modern age, if you will.
Yeah. I know what you mean. And there's a couple little lines in there too that are like they use from the original that aren't like, oh, it was that line. It's just kind of, it's very quick.
It's incorporated in, but you're not like, oh my God.
And
then they add some lines in this movie where like, holy this shit. You reacted like, oh my God, excuse me, Mr. Deadeye. What did you just say?
Right. And the effects, like you said, are great. I'm glad it was pretty much all practical, minus a little bit here and there, because it would never have aged so well, as we've talked about in the past. And it's just good. It's just a great movie. It flows fucking great. The characters are fun. Like you said, there might be a few that you find boring, but for the most part, I didn't mind any of them. I thought they were pretty decent. And I like you said, I like how confined it feels. I like the audio. The shots are great. The lighting, it felt claustrophobic. And the reason for there not being the way to get out, we'll talk about, was more logical, and I felt in this film that it was in other ones. Like, oh, the bridge is out. I just felt
the original reason. Okay, the fucking Godzilla came through and just bent the shit out of that bridge, man. It's literally claws, and I'm like, that's so cool, man.
There. He's like, oh my God.
Oh, I think it's dope as fuck, but it makes more sense for this.
Yeah.
Oh,
but
man.
I will say this though, and we are coming to this here in a minute. I felt the cold opening was irrelevant.
Yeah,
I didn't like it.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, the original didn't have anything like that, and I think it worked really well. I don't think it needed it either, but it's fine.
I shouldn't say I didn't like. I shouldn't say I didn't like it because it was well done, but I felt it wasn't necessary for the film. Like without it, it would have been fine. And I think it was just like let's set some shit up for some people. Like, guys, this is like, I know not everybody's seen Evil Dead. It has been remade 4 million times over, and there's only 3 other movies at the point this came out. I guess that's why they're like, oh, we gotta let the people know what this is about. Like, just let them watch the fucking movie. Oh, and there's one scene I also didn't like where they're like, they showed a clip of something. I'm like, why did you show that? You don't need to show. Never mind. We'll get to it.
I liked it for the title drop alone, though. In the beginning, like,
yes,
and it was crazy music just blasting with the title. It's like, oh, it's great.
But
great movie.
I mean, it's not a spoiler because it's been all over the place. But the opening to Evil Dead Rise cannot be matched.
Never seen it. We'll find out.
I won't say
title card.
I won't say anything more other than the title card for Evil Dead Rise is one of the greatest title cards of all time. All right. Well, I love this movie. I'm not going to go too deep because we're already 40 minutes into this recording and we haven't started the plot yet. So wow. So yeah, I really like this movie and I'm going to just gush about it as we talk about the plot. So let's get into this plot. So the opening is a bleeding girl is running through the woods. She's trying to escape somebody. And eerily, she's like hiding behind trees and she's looking. There's just people just standing there, like in the shadows. And then, she hears like it's really creepy because you're like, especially if you're somebody who's never seen this movie, you're like, is she getting like stalked by Deadites? Or are these people?
Like the imaginary demon that flies through the wood?
because there's moments where she's like hiding behind the tree and you can just all you hear is like footsteps just running, but you don't see the person. And you're like, what the fuck is happening? Until she gets a bag over the head, she gets dragged, and then she gets a butt of the gun to the face. What kind of gun is this, Dan?
No, that was a shotgun. I can barely see. It was a side by side.
Dan, it's been a while since I've asked you this question. You're kind of slacking.
You know what the vehicles are. I can tell you the vehicles later. Yeah, it's a double barrel side by side shotgun. Assuming it's the same one that they use in just a moment. But I didn't get a good look. I just got and then that was.
So we then get to see that she's tied up to a post in the basement of a house, a cabin. You kind of guess it's a cabin. And this really witchy looking old lady is reading from the Necronomicon and explaining how they can get rid of this demon. And she's pleading, there's nothing wrong with me. And then some guy just comes out of the shadows and it turns out to be her dad. And she's like, Dad, let me go. Until he's like, no. She's asking about her mom. And your mom is dead. She's like, no,
killed her.
You killed her.
You don't remember?
And she's still pleading for him to let her go. And the woman's back there like, nah, we got to kill her. It's the only way we're going to stop this. You got to kill her. And as soon as like the dad, it clearly is not going to help her. That's when the Deadeye comes out. I swallow your soul.
Well, I love that like nonchalant way she says it at first, where she's just like, "I will like,"
in the daughter's voice too.
Yeah, like I will eat your soul. Yeah, I will tear your soul apart.
So good.
Or something. It's like, oh my god.
And then then she gets angry, and he of course pours like a bottle of gasoline over her. She's like, "What is that?" And then drop and he lights the match, but he doesn't just drop it. It's when she says, I'm going to swallow your soul. He gets kind of startled and he drops the match and she engulfs in flames. And I loved when I watched the Dead Meat episode on this, the Kill Cow, and he's like, and she gets Anakin. She starts to look like Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Like, oh my god! I'm not supposed to laugh at this scene, but thank you, James from Dead Meat.
Did anybody get
overkill?
It's so. Oh my god!
Like you didn't need to light her on fire if you were just going to blow her head off with a shotgun.
Yeah,
I feel like
being thorough, man.
And actually, but as she's in flames, she's like, "I will rip your soul out," and then he fucking headshots her. Her head just explodes, and then we get the awesome title card. Oh, I like so good.
I wish we would have got like a date at the beginning. So I would like to know when this is set, because as you find out through the rest of the movie, it seems like this family, at least like Mia and her brother, have been going to that cabin since they were like kids. Yeah. So like, when did the beginning of that movie like take place?
How are they just discovering this crazy shit in the basement? Like what?
Right?
They have some old ass appliances too.
When we get to that, When we get to that, I've got some thoughts now that you bring that up. But
you would smell those dead cats hanging in the basement.
Yes. Did anybody think like
I would have been the one that smelled it.
Did anybody think at like the beginning, like if you were going into this and didn't even know, like you're an Evil Dead fan, but you know, like what the fuck is this wrong turn shit? Like when you first start,
it certainly seems like it.
Yeah.
So we then get a cool, after the title card, we get the cool inverted forest shot, which I really liked, and then of course it like straightens itself out.
I'm a sucker for those kind of shots.
It's really cool.
It made me dizzy.
And we get to see we get to see a Jeep take a journey to a cabin in the woods. And no, Chris Hemsworth's not there.
Ah, it looks. By the way, it looks like a TJ,
with a Shaggy lookalike dude.
So you know.
The car. Yeah. Well, I just say it's a Jeep Wrangler.
It is. It'd be a 98 to 2007.
And then there was a Ford Taurus wagon, right? Wasn't that Ford Taurus wagon?
I had something to say about that. That is a second-gen Ford Taurus wagon.
I had a babysitter who had that exact same car, not the same color, but the same car. And I used to ride in the back because the back two seats would face out the back of the car.
Wagons are the shit.
They couldn't make cars like that no more. We're going to face you out that way. So if a car rear ends you, it's just like a car's coming straight at you. It's fine. It's safe. Put the children back there.
We used to ride around in our Escort wagon with a mattress in the back with no seats.
Yes.
We were all just sitting. There's four of us kids, and we would all sit back there.
Or the bed of the truck on the way
home. My stepdad had a truck, and we would be like, hey, we're going to ride down to the general store at the end of the highway. And we'd be like, or hop in the back of the truck.
Done that before.
Fucking bouncing around and shit. Because they're flying.
Yep.
And he had one of those metal toolboxes on the back. And I would ride in the back. We'd be going down the highway, and I'd be underneath the toolbox.
I thought you get it like your dad would open it up. Hello, Daddy. You'd be like cramped in there.
Hello, Daddy.
That's right.
I'd do that shit. If my dad had toolboxes in the back of his truck, I'd fucking do that shit in a heartbeat.
So we get to the cabin and we meet the group of people, our main group here. We have David, who is the owner of the Jeep, and his girlfriend, Natalie. Then we have Eric, who is from a different decade.
Oh, God.
He looks like he just came out of freaking Woodstock. And then we have Olivia, who is one of the friends, and who's also a nurse. And then we have Mia, who is David's sister, and she'll be our main character, like pretty much the most prominent character of this movie. And she is a recovering drug addict, heroin addict, to be more specific. And this is when, and also we have Grandpa the dog.
He's awesome.
I know, but I love the fact that like they're like, oh, Grandpa, and he's just like, I don't remember which character said it was like the dog's name is Grandpa.
Yeah.
Oh no, it wasn't a character in the movie. My wife said that. She's like, is that dog named Grandpa?
That's fucking great.
I agree.
The dog walks up and she's like, Grandpa, and I'm like,
is there an old man coming up?
I didn't see any old person.
Yeah, where did he come from?
I was like, I must have missed
Grandpa from Texas Chainsaw just sitting in the rocker.
Yes.
Hit her, Grandpa, hit her.
Dude, oh my God, you realize how deadly you'd be if he had like a fucking hover round or whatever, one of those electric chairs? He'd be a monster.
Just holding a hammer, just riding her.
Hey, hammers are relevant in this movie for this one scene.
Yeah.
So David...
Maybe that's, oh my God, maybe that's why they did that.
Oh my, we're connected.
Maybe that's why.
We're connecting the dots.
Holy shit.
No.
Knowing Fede Alvarez, and Fede Alvarez did write a Texas Chainsaw movie. It makes sense that would be a connection.
Yep.
Oh.
Can I point out one thing though? I would like to state, like, when I seen clips of this movie, I seen the meat carving scene. You'll know.
Yes. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I feel better now. I seen that scene, like, stand like out of context, and then the very end. So I'm wondering, like, how does this all pan out to be there? So, like, that's
one of those things. Like, as soon as you see it, you're like, oh, that's gonna come up later in the movie somehow.
Absolutely.
This movie has crazy payoffs to everything. Like, he drives across the creek in the Jeep, and it shows it. I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. Oh, that's definitely gonna come up later. So David and Mia, they go off to because I guess they hadn't seen each other in a while, and she's been going through her withdrawals and all that stuff, and her addiction, and he hasn't really been there. And he gives her a necklace, and it's the same necklace that Ash gives to Linda in the original and in the second one too. And the funny thing is I don't think it plays much into this, does it? Like, it just doesn't feel like it plays into this movie at all. I think this is just an Easter egg to a degree.
But like at the very end, like when it starts raining blood, you see it goes right down. And did you notice what they're sitting on though? During that scene, they're sitting on the Delta.
They're sitting on the is it Buick?
Sam Raimi's old Delta car.
Right. Yeah.
Old Delta 88. It's the wrong year though.
And it's covered in it's been there a while.
So was that Ash's car?
That's the thing. That's the thing. I think originally when this movie was made, like I stated earlier, there was more of I think a lot of these things were just nods to the original. But now people are just making it like it's connected. It's all connected.
Well,
okay.
I could see a thing for it especially when you talk about the multiple Necronomicons.
Yeah.
Because if this is some kind of crazy religion or pact, why would there just be one book?
Yeah.
Like, why would their doctorate be like, it's right here, it's just one tome? Like, no, dude. There's like, is there just one fucking Bible? No, there's multiple. So plenty of people to skin, plenty of people's blood to write it.
Different revisions.
Right.
So the whole point of this weekend is
translation.
Fuck, damn it. Is there like a KJV version of like the Necronomicon? Like, we only recognize this fucking version of it. So anyway,
so they go to the cabin because Mia is a recovering sex addict. Jesus Christ,
sex addict. This could have been a whole different movie.
This movie was weird. This is the porn version of this movie. What, Dan?
No, I'm not. I'm thinking, what's the porn movie that came out lately that X and Pearl came? Was it X?
Yeah, X was the.
Yeah, X.
That's what I think. Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
nothing bad.
No, so she's a recovering drug addict, and they brought her up here because to be with her as she goes through her shit. She goes through her withdrawals and stuff, and I was like, this is an awful place to be. Like the nastiest cabin in the middle of this in the woods.
Yeah.
But they're like, it's so secluded and so hard to get anywhere that like she's gonna have to just deal with it. Like we're gonna and we gotta be there to help her. And they show a picture.
Put her in the worst room too.
Yeah, and also, did anyone notice that her mom kind of looks like Molly Shannon? I was like, is that Molly Shannon in that picture? That's weird, but it wasn't.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah,
I like how the drug aspect of it, her being a drug, like coming off of addiction, it kind of plays into the story as why like they might not believe everything that's going on with her.
It does.
Like, she's coming off. She's cold turkey. She's gonna say anything, try to get out of here. She's gonna make believe stuff. Might be seeing stuff. She's gonna try to harm herself. It's a good reason for them not to believe her for a majority of the movie until shit really gets real.
Yeah, I just love though when she pours the heroin down the well and it's like, well, some slugs are about to have a fucking party tonight.
And that was some dirty drugs. I've seen heroin. I'm like, is that somebody's ashes?
Those are rough days.
I can just imagine Angela being like, that's some dirty.
She's just like,
I was like, is that somebody's ash?
Shit ain't pure. Throws it back. Get back here when you bring the good shit.
It can't be real. I mean, they could have been, but
they could have.
I like how she starts out like passionate speech about like not wanting, and then she's like, oh fuck it. It's just
dumps it.
Yeah. Good call.
So we find out that David wasn't. I guess their mom died. David wasn't there. It's a whole thing, and I
failed on everybody.
Yeah, and because Eric's all like salty about it too.
Like 10 years or something, right?
Yeah,
like,
it was a long time.
Everybody else seemed fine, but Eric just had to be a dick about it.
And do they mention, is this the reason why she becomes a drug addict, or was she a drug addict beforehand?
Well, she said she was just a kid, and I don't know how old she is now.
Yeah,
when she was
I assume she became a drug addict because of everything like that was happening, like with her mom.
Yeah, because her mom, supposedly was crazy. She was in, she was in an asylum or something, or they don't really tell you how she died, so could have been anything.
But David makes mention later on that he should have been there, so maybe she became a drug addict because he left too, on top of everything.
There was nobody there for her. I'm assuming there wasn't a dad. This wasn't brought up. No. I don't know. I'm glad they kept this vague, because if you caught like a snippet of a situation, you're not going to know everything.
No.
So you shouldn't.
Yeah, and added some more depth to it, because she even said like, I I kept having to lie to her, saying that you were going to be there, like you were going to visit her, and then you just never showed up.
Yeah. Also, you find out that this wasn't the first time that they did this with Mia. She had OD'd before. And he's like, she did? And I was like, what the fuck? Yeah. Well, you weren't around? Like, what the fuck? I'm not supposed to like update you with everything? Like, maybe now be a better fucking sibling, bro.
I was running that auto garage in Chicago.
Like, I get, like, if you're in a shitty upbringing and a shitty situation and you try to get out, that's fine. But like, you got siblings, man.
Yeah,
you gotta figure something out about that.
Behind, like she was saying.
Especially at a younger age. Like,
it's not fair to them.
No.
So that night, Mia is withdrawing and she complains of a smell. And she's the only one who can smell it.
We didn't even talk about them going up to the house and it, like, the door being broken open.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So that makes you think that, like, those people were just busting in and using their cabin.
Right. So that could have been, like, a couple weeks before. It was, like, because
maybe
you see... Because those
somewhat
because the dead cats are in the basement and they're still kind of intact to a degree, and you would think if it's a long time ago, those things would be fucking skeletons by now.
Yeah, but even so, why was she the only one that could smell them? I feel like everybody should be able to smell all those cats.
Yeah, I don't know.
I smell things. I have more sensitive smell than he does.
Okay,
I assume that her going through her withdrawals, that her senses are more heightened.
Yeah.
I think that the nurse lady did say something about that in the movie, yeah.
Well, something relevant, and this could just be for my job, because I do floor care, so I go in and clean everything.
You have no scent.
I literally, not long ago, I didn't even notice this until recently. It's probably a couple months ago. I went into a property with a guy complaining of dog problems. I went and smelled, doesn't smell like dog in here. And I walked out of the house and my coworker's like, man, it smells like dog really bad there. I was like, how the fuck? Like, I can't smell any dog at all. And I don't have dogs. I think I just gone nose blind to it. So
yeah.
I smell everything.
Just a random aside, even though decaying matter is entirely different potency.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I completely forgot the fact that the hinge was, or the lock was broken on the cabin. But
that crowbar's laying on the floor.
Yeah, and they're which comes into play later.
It's funny because he complains about the dude being 2 hours late because he had the keys when dude could have just walked up to the door and pushed it open. Like, bro, you didn't even try the door.
You didn't even look, man. What are you doing?
I know, right?
You didn't even try the door.
So yeah, she can smell something they can't. They just think that because she's going through her withdrawals that she's just smelling things or seeing things or whatever. And that's when the dog starts fucking with the rug and pulls it away, and there's blood leading to a trap door. And they're like, oh shit, this seems normal. And they open it.
Probably shouldn't go down there.
Yeah.
My blood is not like that old.
Yeah. And they open it, and that's when the smell comes out. Everyone now can smell what she was smelling before. She's like, told ya, Jesus.
I'm not crazy.
The way that house is designed too, like that's not like that's wood boards or they're not tight. Like it's like just go straight through. So.
But I loved watching this with my wife because she laughed at a lot of spots. She was criticized. She was like, how did they not smell that? Those boards aren't even touching. Like there's so much gap between those boards.
That's what I was saying.
There's a couple scenes where we made comments like, well, okay.
Well, I noticed in that one section though where they actually burned her. I think there was stone wall down there. It could have been like a stone. It could have been like almost like a. Well, yeah, it would have been, but like I'm wondering if because like our house,
there was a well down there too. Because in one of the scenes,
it could have almost been like a what do they call a root cellar almost, where it's actually concrete or stone all the way around. There actually wasn't wooden slats there. That's always possible.
Mm. So they go down to explore it because that's a good thing to do. And they find a room. They find a room full of dead cats. And you see the post that's all charred up from, you're like, oh, that must be from the beginning.
Mm-hmm. And then they show that clip at the beginning. And I'm like, why did you do that?
Did they? I don't know.
Yeah, they show a brief clip of her being burning on fire.
The unrated version doesn't have that.
Good, because
it's like super quick.
The theatrical cut, I'm like, that fucking ruins it for me.
They just go into the room and they look around. They do not point at anything. Like they don't ever notice the post. And there was
they
no
don't say anything
flashback
about
it.
It just flashes quick to her.
Maybe
on
I just
fire
missed it. Maybe I was looking out of my notes real quick. I don't know.
David's checking out.
He makes mention that he like pushes on the post.
I would like to state something again. I'm not shitting on this movie. I'm sorry. I just recently did it for fire recovery, fire and smoke remediation technician. It's a class I just took. Dude, there would be soot everywhere in that fucking room. It would stink so bad with all the dead animals. It would not have stopped at that post. It would not have stopped at that post. And those dude, there'd be maggots and flies everywhere. I also just took trauma and crime scene remediation too. That was a fun one.
Yeah, it didn't need to be in the movie because it's like,
No.
Remember this that happened that you saw 20 minutes ago or whatever.
Yeah,
you just saw that. Yeah.
Like there's later on, there's flashbacks of stuff that you didn't see, so it's like, okay, that makes sense to have that there. Yeah. But don't have that flashback.
You're over explaining it. Like, just let it ride. And not to mention me being hypercritical is just shit I've noticed because of work stuff. It does not affect the movie at all. Like, this is nothing took this away. I was like, this is fucking great. Dead cat, except for the dead cats. I'm like, oh, kitties.
Yeah, poor kitties.
Other than that quick cut, though, I love a lot of the other quick cuts in the movie because they're very effective. Like, kind of like not jump scares, but they're very effective. Like, it'll cut to like evil Mia's face, like super up close or something. And it'll blast scary music. I think a lot of the scares and creepiness is very effective in this movie.
Very much.
I just hated the up close of the cats when the lady's like.
Yeah,
putting them up. I'm like, oh, kitty.
Yeah, with barbed wire too.
It was rough.
Wrapping everything with barbed wire.
Well, that's the thing is that's what they find down there. They find something wrapped in like a trash bag and barbed wire, and you're like, you know what I'm gonna do? Bring it upstairs. You know what else I'm gonna do? I'm gonna cut that barbed wire off and open this thing. What the fuck, man? It's covered in barbed wire.
Yeah. So I don't like the hippie dude, man. He's just like,
curious George.
Oh, look, I'm gonna read this.
Yeah, he was so curious. It's like, leave it alone,
dude.
Like,
don't
go opposite direction right now.
My wife went. My wife went. Why would he read from that? It's like because this movie wouldn't happen if he didn't.
Well, and then you gotta think about like he seems kind of like spiritual about it, but like the main guy kind of isn't. And
well, so Eric is I guess a high school teacher, so it was like he was just fascinated with it. You know, because
you got to think like if you're like oh, this is interesting. I mean, I don't know about like a bag wrapped, and of course we know it's a horror movie. They don't know.
Oh, exactly.
So like, curiosity, open the book.
Opening things wrapped in a trash bag.
But that's the thing is, like, you saw a blood trail to that trap door. As soon as I saw that, I was like, we gotta get the fuck out of here. I don't. Listen, we will find some other way of dealing with her drug addiction and trying to get her to
take you to a nice cozy hotel.
It has to have insurance.
I love how in these types of movies, when you find a book like this, you have to read it out loud. Like even if you're by yourself, like I want to know if like just reading it normally in your head would actually activate the demons. Like like I want to know if that would work or not. Do you have to read it aloud
but all it needed was an eyeball, and it could have been the book from Hocus Pocus. Just saying.
Well, another thing is he's like he touches it and realizes it's like there's indentations where it's been written in, and like why is he like I'd be like good enough. This is all
bound
gibberish.
in human flesh and wrapped in barbed wire. Like maybe I shouldn't mess with this.
Yeah,
this is creepy. I wouldn't want to touch a book made of human flesh. I know that. I'm like no, I'm good.
I mean, if you didn't get it after finding it wrapped in a trash bag. Then wrapped in, barbed wire, then wrapped in human flesh, you ain't gonna get it. His
friends should have checked on him though too. Like, where did dude go?
Where'd Eric go?
Book?
Because he's sitting there staring at it, like fighting with himself. Should I open it? Like, oh yeah, we're just gonna do it.
So it cuts to Natalie cutting into the meat with the carver. And you're like, that's gonna play into it later.
With a meat carver from the 70s.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense. They hadn't been to the property in a while too.
Yeah.
Well, it's like that fucking blender we got from your mom.
I really hope that they cleaned it because
it has sentimental value.
It works.
That blend.
I hope so.
That blend hand mixer is older than I am.
Yes.
They never show a bathroom in this cabin, and they never show like a sink.
They do. They show a bathroom.
They show a bathroom. Do they?
Yeah, Mia takes a shower.
That's where the
it looks like it's a shower from like a rec center. Like it doesn't look like it's a bathroom in a small cabin. You're like, why is that shower area so big?
So here I am. They're going in this cabin, and all I can think of is Phasmophobia because I play that a lot.
No,
I'm like, that's definitely not a bathroom.
Aren't you like a level 1,000 or something? That's not a lot.
700 something.
Close enough.
No, like,
but I'm like, no, this is definitely not a bathroom that's in a cabin. They
No,
don't just have stand-up
absolutely not.
showers.
No.
And what?
And
Oh
it's
no!
all tiled, and it's like looks way different than anything else in the
The
cabin.
one thing I
You're gonna
did
have
was
a
just the
foot
bathroom.
tub. You're gonna have, a see-through shower curtain.
Well, there wasn't even a shower curtain.
No,
There was
Yeah, it didn't look
nothing.
like there was.
Did anybody notice like the Minecraft loaf of bread on the counter? Like as she was cutting the meat, it's like it's like a proper like fresh loaf of bread, right? It's not cut or nothing. I was like Minecraft.
I mean,
Like, how do they have the ingredients? They just grow it in the back in between scenes or some shit.
you don't have to have much to make a loaf of bread, honestly. But I mean,
Not for Minecraft, you don't.
she's cutting this chunk of meat that's not even cooked.
Yeah,
Doesn't
it
even look
is.
like it's
It is
cooked.
bloody. It is very
it's
rare.
I'm like, it's
Um,
purple.
But as she's doing that, she looks outside. Mia's kind of like pacing around in the pouring rain. She's going through more of her
Yeah, just
withdrawals.
going through it.
And then we go back and we see Eric, and he makes the worst decision ever, and he unwraps the Necronomicon. And as he's like flipping through the pages, he gives himself a paper cut, and he bleeds on the book, which is how it activates. And then he reads the words that he's like shading. He's like trying to get all the words, and he reads them off. Kanda, Astrada,
Sorry, I thought it said Canada.
Montosa, Kanda.
I thought what Canada.
It's like Canada.
We thought the last one was Canada.
And then he said Conda. I was like, oh, okay.
I was
Is that it?
Yeah.
Klaatu, Barada.
Yeah, close enough. Yeah.
I was half expecting when he opened the book, like a demon. Must have just been the wind, like a ghost comes out.
Nope,
I
Didn't
do
say
like-
exactly how you want to be to say.
I do like
know your
when
damn
he's
words.
when he's reading it, the cutting back and forth.
Oh, with the demon.
As he's reading
the
it,
first person
I'm
demon
like-
flying through the woods. Yeah, so good.
Yeah.
I wanted that jump scare.
I really wish though they used the same music that they used in the original, because I love the sound that the demon makes as it's flying through the woods. Yeah. It doesn't really do that in this one. He just flies.
No.
There's still sound happening, but it's not as
It's not used
menacing.
nearly as much either
No.
as
No.
like the original.
I'm surprised the blood didn't like when it hit the book, didn't like absorb into
Yeah.
it.
I was expecting that too.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
was like, damn, that's a sharp book.
Shit.
But I do like that they didn't give me that jump scare, because then I'm like,
Probably made out of pressed people, so that's why the page cut there.
probably.
so yeah, so
But
me,
it's like I want it, but I don't get it, so I'm like frustrated with it. So when you do get a jump scare, I'm like, ooh, yeah.
So Mia gets attacked, sort of. It goes into her, and as she's recovering, she looks up and she sees a woman standing in the woods. She then freaks out, goes into the house, is like, I need to go. You need to bring, somebody needs to bring me. And everybody's like, no, we're not going to do that. And of course, like David made her a promise before that he would, take her home if anything were to happen. But now he's like on their side. He's like, no, I can't do that. She's like, well, fuck you then.
I thought
She turns on him real quick.
Yeah.
I thought he just told her he'd be with her till the very end, not specifically like.
Well, he pretty much told her he would do anything for her to help her.
Oh, okay.
So, and that's kind of how she took it. Like, if I need to go, you need to help me with that. And he's like,
Yeah, because he tells them that he'll take her if she wants to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's when like the nurse lady like tells us like, hey, there's no going back. Like if we leave here, she's just gonna go right back to it. Like she has to stay here if we're gonna get her to be clean.
So she runs away into her bedroom, but then you find out that she actually like snuck out the window. She takes the one of the cars and drives away. Yep, the Taurus wagon. And she's flying down the road. And the woman just pops up in the middle of the road, causing her to crash, and she crashes into like a pond or flooded area.
I love this whole thing though. She's like, what am I doing? I'm like, you're driving. And then she wrecks, and I'm like, now you're wrecking.
We then get another first person shot of the demon flying towards her. We also as she comes out of the car, she comes out of the water, and that's when like the demon woman like pops out of the mud.
Monster demon.
Yeah. And that's when she runs away, and we get the first person shot, and then she gets tangled up in like the vines or the tree, and we get the new version of the tree
I love
I've
this.
dubbed
Tree
it
scene.
I've dubbed it extreme gardening.
Yes. So this one, in my opinion, isn't as graphic as
Yes.
the one in the original.
Yeah.
The one in the original is, oh boy, that
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
goes
Pretty
all the
graphic.
way. And this one has some moments where you're like, oh, okay. She gets wrapped up by the tree.
Just
And
gross.
and then you see the demon woman standing in front of her with the dead-eyed eyes and looking a little pale, and she vomits up like a worm tree thing,
Yeah.
and it
I'm like, what the
crawls,
hell is
wraps
this?
around her
Thorns all over
leg.
it and stuff.
Yeah, wraps itself around her leg, and then decides it's gonna go venture up her hoo-ha.
That's a good
You
way to
just
put it.
assume it could have gone up her ass.
It could have.
Hey,
Hooper
either
time.
Either
I
way,
mean, they've been playing in the mud this whole time. Why stop now?
Yeah, I love that. Like how it, like right when it's like ending too, like you have that music building and building,
Yeah.
and then it just goes silent, and then that scream she has, it's just so
Yeah.
powerful.
Well,
Oh, it gives me chills thinking about it.
Shit, Roto-Rooter.
Roto, is that what you thought of Roto Rooter? Is that what
Just
you
now
were
I did.
Okay.
Oh
I want
my
to say
God.
though, I thought, like I said earlier, this scene I felt was the appropriate way of doing it in this day and age, as opposed to how the original
Yeah.
scene was done.
Yeah.
Same effect, but still, like I guess graphic, even though like powerful
Yeah.
scene, if you will. Same impact ish, but like filmed more tactfully, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But another thing I want to point out, that Taurus would totally have had a fucking airbag. I'm just saying. In that hole, when she gets out of the
things.
car and just goes like straight down. It's like, what kind of pond is this?
I just love how she's not really fazed by what's going on. She's like getting her purse and she's like looking for her purse and she puts it over. Dude, I wouldn't even care about
Filled
the
with
fucking
water,
purse.
like up
Yeah.
to her head.
Then she gets out. She's like,
point,
"Oh,
it's like-
She takes it off. What? Okay.
I'm like, no, and I wouldn't be swimming across the opposite side of where I crashed from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You crashed right here. Go.
you got a
go
perfect
up.
path leading in. You blew through the trees. Damn. Just go
Yeah.
that way.
Every time I
Come back
think
that
I
way.
watch it too, I think like, is that her car or she just steal someone's car?
Yeah.
'Cause I would be pissed if she stole my car and just wrecked it in the woods. You're like,
I
what
think
is
that
going-
was the nurse's card, to be honest.
That's what I'm saying. You don't like.
Yeah.
She doesn't say anything about
Definitely
it.
was not
Like,
her.
oh, I'm glad you're okay. Like, you didn't just total my car.
What nurse is driving a nice for its age second gen Taurus? They all drive fucking Honda Civics or Honda Accords or Honda CRVs. That's
Maybe
just what they drive.
this movie takes place in the 90s, Dan.
It would be nice to
You,
know.
you know what though?
We don't get a date.
Yeah.
And nobody mentions
Soon.
cell phones.
No one mentions
there is no
there's no cell
cell
phones. The
Nothing.
cars that they drive,
You're right.
the way that they dress, like it kind of is either like early
Yeah.
2000s or late
Yeah.
90s.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
I never even thought of it. Like, there's no
No.
cell phones in this movie at all.
Nope.
You're right.
Nobody mentions reception or nothing like
There's
that.
Yeah.
There's no landline in
Not
this
even a
cabin
mention of a
either.
phone at all, right?
No.
Because they don't.
Not even
nobody
just like a
tries to
regular
call.
telephone.
Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Samia, she gets back to the cabin. She tells David that something is there. Of course, she is clearly possessed by something. And Jane Levy's facial expressions
Bro,
is so.
That's the scene I talked about earlier. Like, that's probably one of the best scenes in the movie for me because like you really get like that she's like genuinely terrified.
Yeah.
In that scene.
In her eyes,
Like, she
just-
plays it so well. Her
eyes are
huge.
It's probably
And the way that she's
here now.
whispering and like she's trembling while she's whispering to him,
Yeah.
like it's creepy just thinking about like that scene every time. It's so effective.
She is legitimately scared
And the
Mhm.
fact
Mhm.
that
of
it's
something.
everybody thinks she's trying to get out of it because of that, and they don't even realize by doing what they're doing, they're just making it worse.
Yep.
For everybody.
Yeah.
Because
It's just- it's very-
David doesn't believe her, of course, he leaves and
Mhm.
she looks into
I
the
love that
mirror
scare.
and you see the deadite version
I
of
love it.
herself. Yeah. So
Oh,
good.
I love that scare.
Because you
there.
get that really the great thing about the music in this movie is that it's very old school. It's not like modern, like as you would probably think of like modern music. It really
Yeah.
feels like it was done in the 80s. Like the music is like they just took it from the original Evil Dead, the original 2 Evil Dead movies, and kind of just threw it into this. And everything that is Eric, of course, he continues to do stupid shit with the book. And we get
So guys, there's a crossword puzzle in here.
which he,
There's
yeah,
villain in it.
yeah. Well, he's flipping through the book and he sees, for one, you see the classic Evil Dead cover, but it's the skeleton.
Yes.
I
Yeah,
like that
coming
was
out of
kind
the
of a little
ground.
ode there. But he also runs into the vine attack where it's a woman like engulfed in vines, which is like, oh, well, that kind of sounds like what she's saying.
Yeah, because they mentioned like she could have did this to herself. Like they found thorns on her. She may have just jumped into a bush or like ran through like briars or whatever.
The nurse makes mention of because they're like, what happened to her?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they kept saying like, we got to get her to a hospital. And she's like, I'm giving her the same treatment she would get at a hospital. Like, don't worry about it.
Not really, because she would be safe.
Would she though?
If they left before she got possessed through her,
well, they don't know that she's possessed.
Yeah, they don't know how far does the actual spirit, like if you call it up or however you do it on
yeah, I mean, no one was like, hey guys, we're gonna go to this cabin. We might get possessed or might not.
the rotary phones. That's exactly
See, that should be like the next sequel is like someone gets possessed and then like, all right, we got to take him to the hospital. And then the rest of the movie like takes place at a hospital and people are getting possessed there and stuff. That'd be a cool sequel.
Sick.
That's what I was wondering. Like, how far does if they left and successfully got out, how far would the demon go if nobody was possessed? Like, they just bring it out. Like, how far
what's the radius that this goes? Is it just in the woods or just around the?
I wonder if it has to be like within a certain parameter of the book itself.
Yeah.
Maybe they can't cross water. Fuck, we don't know.
Afraid of water.
It's like vampires.
So
okay, taking out the bridge would make sense though.
Yeah.
True. Well, there wasn't a bridge; it was like rocks.
Well,
from this point on, from the point that Eric finds the Necronomicon, he opens it. It rains the whole rest of the movie.
Yeah.
But like you said, you never see sunshine. Even during the day, it's still overcast.
Yeah, it's also like they're in thick woods, so that also could play into the fact you don't get much sunlight. But
until the very, very end.
Yeah. So David is cleaning up the cats in the basement, and he does it really quick. I was like, that's a lot of fucking cats, and he's like throwing them in one bag. He goes
down, wraps them up, puts them up for Christmas, like a toad.
he brings the bag outside, and he notices like there's like a blood splatter on the lawn, and he's calling for Grandpa. He's like, Grandpa!
Oh no!
And he goes and finds Grandpa. He's like, he was like thrown in a hole, and he pulls him out, and then he realizes he was like bashed with a hammer, and then it like does a quick flash of like Mia smashing the shit out of him.
See, that's
the thing is, you never know, was it actually Mia that does it, or was that kind of what he thinks?
Yeah.
That is definitely the flashback you need. Like,
that's not because we didn't see it before.
Because
he sees the hammer, and then it like puts an ID in his head. It has to have been me. It had to have been Mia.
I want a cut of this movie that when he sees the hammer, it flashes to the scene from the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's like, hit her with the hammer, Gramps. Like, I just want that scene.
Grandpa.
Yeah,
and then cut back to the dog.
Yeah. So I really like. So I'll mention it. I'm not a big fan of Shiloh Fernandez's performance in this movie. I think he's very flat. He doesn't show a lot of emotion. And this scene coming up, like he shows a little bit of emotion when he's holding Grandpa, and he's kind of like, "Oh, what the fuck, man." But then when he goes back to the cabin to confront Mia, and he's like, Mia, open the door. And I'm like, you could have just like, you're not scary. Like, this doesn't seem like somebody who is like really needs some information or really needs to talk to somebody. Because like you have Olivia, like, stop doing that. Stop. And he's just like, Mia, open the door. Mia, open the door. And I was like, I can't with this guy. And Mia's just standing there in the shower. Yeah, she's like pretty much fully clothed, taking a shower. And that's when like the trash, is it a trash can that like starts like goes up in flames?
No, it's the,
I thought it was like the hot water heater or something.
It's the hot water heater in older. It's
probably propane, huh?
I don't know if it's propane, but it was usually hot water heaters were like that, not like we have now.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
that's a gnarly effect though, where like her like cheeks splitting open, like the blisters and stuff.
Up and stuff.
Dude,
yeah,
I love that because it's not just like you see the after effects, you see it as it happens.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Her eyes are like rolling back in her head too while it's doing it. It's like, oh, it's such a creepy image.
I'm like, oh, it's you taking a shower.
I was about to say, like, oh, this looks great. Like my skin's like melting off. Like, oh, so relaxed. I do take very hot showers. I really enjoy it.
Dude, if you
my skin will be red.
Taking a shower after him, and I'm like, how holy shit, how do you stand in this?
Welcome to the third
Got
circle of
blisters
hell
all
here.
over. I'm fine. Don't worry.
Yeah. I'm gonna go outside for a few minutes, like butt ass naked. It's 20 degrees outside. Like
He's literally come out of the shower sometimes, and his skin is red. I'm like,
it's true facts.
how hot was your shower?
He's also
Gosh.
Dan. You're a pale man, right? So that's probably another reason.
A little bit.
And he marks really easy too.
Here's my pail.
I can take my finger and just like
she just did that. There'll be a red mark.
Yeah, there'll be a red mark.
Bruise like a peach.
So because of all this, David tries to take Mia back to wherever, or take her to a hospital, and they get to the river and it's flooded. Can't get across. Like, what the fuck? And of course, she's in the car. She was like throwing up before, and she's in the car laughing.
Yeah,
is when she realized it, because
she wasn't
not
just
her,
throwing
course,
up though; she was foaming at the mouth.
Yeah, but I love how she's still like foaming, and she's just like
she has that smile on her face.
Yeah.
And then like, what's his name? The hippie dude sees in the book
Eric.
about like the boiling water on. Yeah.
Yep.
What's
like, wait a minute. Something connecting the dots here. Wait a minute.
Good job, Eric.
Like, have you not figured it out yet? Like, I even figured
with
it
the
out.
thorns and stuff. Like, come on, man.
Like, it just makes. What's the stuff you put in water and it foams up for like stomach issues or something?
Oh, Epsom salt?
No,
not Epsom
drink.
salt.
Alka-Seltzer?
Oh,
That's what I thought. Like, she's like, you gave her too much Alka-Seltzer. just drinking peroxide.
This tastes gross.
Yes, peroxide.
So they get back to the cabin. Mia is, she's going through some shit. She then comes out into the living room as everyone's kind of discussing what the hell is happening, and she shows up with a gun.
He's locked and cocked, bro.
Yep. And
hold on there, man.
Hold on, Mia. Whoa. And yeah, she shoots David, kind of like it like grazes him, but it shoots him and he falls into the wall. And then that's when the demon flies through the open door and she does the scream. And then as soon as it like hits her, she just goes, "You're all going to die tonight." And then collapses.
Oh, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
Olivia, that was. Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I'm just saying, Olivia tries to take the gun, and Mia grabs her arm and then kind of pounces on top of her, and then fucking vomits this nasty colored vomit all over her.
Yeah, because it's like pus and blood, but it's got chunks in it too, and it's so gross.
It's so gross.
It's so gross.
No, it's like those when you were a kid, the people that made the Jell-O with the fruit inside.
Yeah,
it's like a melted version of that.
Felt bad for the chick that had to just sit there and just right in her face.
Oh, the worst of it is as she's doing it, you can see Olivia's like has her mouth open for a couple times. You're like, oh no, don't get it in there. I remember I watched the actual behind the scenes of this shot, and Jane Levy's like, it was like the worst scene I had to do for this movie. I felt so bad for was it Jessica Lucas? Yeah, Jessica Lucas is like, it was fine. It was part of the job.
She's been in The Resident. That's not the worst thing that she's had fly at her. So
well, I mean, that was what, a couple of years ago though, right?
I'm just saying she prepared herself for
yeah, she's like, I did Evil Dead. You see what happened to me in that movie? I can do anything.
I think this is the scene as well, like when Elizabeth Blackmore's character even says like the line from the original is like, what happened to her eyes? Whatever, like, because her eyes are like the dead-eyed eyes. And that's what I was saying. It's not like pronounced where you're like, oh, there's the line from the original. She says it like very quickly. Like it goes right past it.
When do we get, I don't know if we've hit it yet or not. When do we get the actual recorded line of dialogue from the original? It was like they replay a line of dialogue that one of the female characters plays from the original. Was that later in the movie?
It's soon.
I can't remember when that is.
I don't remember, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
She stands up and she says it from like the doorway or something.
She says something, but you can actually hear what's her fucking name?
It's her and
See, I don't remember that.
Cheryl. She did Cheryl from the original Evil Dead. Ellen Sandweiss.
Yeah, Ellen Sandweiss.
Like you can hear them both.
Yeah, you could hear her dialogue. I was like, what the fuck?
Oh, that's crazy. Because I know in like the credits of the movie, you have like the original tape that plays from the movie, the original movie that plays.
But this is somewhere during the movie. I was like,
because you can hear.
I didn't know that. That's crazy.
And it's really cool. Like I like hearing both her and her demon form like overlapping each
Yes,
other.
it's really
I will
cool.
I will say this is one of, even though the demon is a fucking horrid shot, but I will say this is one of the most realistic depictions of a shotgun on a movie that I can remember, because it's you know, it's I don't know, it's probably bird or buck, I don't know, it's probably not slugs, but when he says, "Oh, I got to get the shrapnel out of my arm," and it hits him in the shoulder, like they don't, it's not like shotgun 5 feet away, it's like this fucking wide. No, it doesn't do that. You can get stuff to adjust that, but they take time to spread the pellets. So it's very realistic how he's
he gets
depicted.
hit
I feel
in his shoulder.
yeah.
So yeah, after that happens, Mia gets thrown into the basement.
They just kick her.
She just kick her straight into the
kinda
Boom!
basement.
Get your ass
Yeah.
down there.
Bye.
She rolled.
And Eric then is like, "Hey, I think this might have to do with something that happened, that all the shit in the basement." And they're like, "No shit,
Everybody's like,
idiot."
"You
Thank you, Sherlock Holmes.
Except for David. David's like not buying into that story at all.
Yeah, not
This-
yet. I like that shot though when they throw her into the basement. It shows that camera shot. It shows into the basement where she's standing there at the bottom of the stairs, and as soon as they close it, it starts thumping. Like she jumped to the top of them stairs real quick to start bashing on that door.
Good.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
So, this is the scene that is like, oh shit! Everything that Olivia goes through, oh, she gets the worst.
Yeah,
She goes to clean herself up in the bathroom. She's, cleaning herself up. She looks up into the mirror, and her freaking face is all peeled away, like she had been carving into her face, and it startles her, of course. And this is when she then, like, she can hear something at the back door. She kind of walks toward it, and then she just stops.
it's like she hits an invisible wall.
Yeah, and she's like,
Yeah.
and she's not moving, but like she like pisses herself.
Her eyes are starting to roll back in her head, twitching.
She needs to go see a doctor. Her pee is that color. Like, saying,
doctor.
I'm like the same thing. She's like,
she is a nurse though. Drink some water.
That's some yellow pee right there.
And that's more than yellow.
Yeah,
I'm like, whoa, ma'am.
Aren't you a nurse, ma'am?
But your comment that you just made about her getting the worst.
I mean, everybody in this movie gets it pretty fucking bad, but face mutilation is rough for me. Like that's one of those type of things in movies where I'm just like, I'm like, ooh. I mean, I'll watch it. I won't look away. I'll watch the whole thing. Like I watched Terrifier 2. Terrifier 2 has some gnarly face trauma.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, other than the Terrifier movies, I would like anytime I talk about like gory movies to people, like Evil Dead 2013 is one I always bring up because this is one of those ones that throughout the whole movie it's just amazing effects, and they're all it doesn't cut away from them at all. You're seeing everything.
So yeah, then it cuts away, and Eric's like, "Oh, where's Olivia at? Let's go check up on her." And
I love how like everybody just lets people go off by themselves, and like nobody's
just
see what just happened here.
No, they've not learned anything.
I'm surprised they're not like, guys. Everybody's like, guys, let's go split up.
Yeah,
like it's just a bunch of fucking white people for the most part in this damn cabin.
Until they hear a noise, like a door shut, they're like, "Uh-oh, something happened to Olivia."
Yeah. Well, admittedly, right before he goes and checks on Olivia, he's looking through the book, and there's a picture of a woman with her face cut off.
Yeah. And then that door slams.
So that's when I think that's when he gets the idea to go, "Oh, maybe I should go check on Olivia because that's not cool."
No.
So yeah, he goes to check on her, and he can't see her at first, and he like walks in farther, and she's like hanging over the toilet, just carving her face. And when she looks, it is such a cool effect. Her face.
Yep.
I'm like, holy
the
shit!
Sound design in the movie too, because when you walk in and it's pitch black, you just hear like the sawing of like meat and bone and stuff. It's like, oh, it's so gross.
And then she attacks him, and this is when you even get worse, where she grabs the needle and she's just stabbing him repeatedly in the eye, and then
it goes through his fucking hand too.
Yeah, and then he's like trying to block it, but the crazy thing is like it doesn't pierce his eye, but it pierces right below, and he's got to pull the needle, and it does a zoom in on him pulling the needle out of under his eye. Oh, dude, it is. Woo.
Me and Dan were talking about this. I said eyeballs are the one thing that I cannot do, and I cannot remember the movie. It was a movie where they were trying to make kids good, teenagers, and they had to give them a shot in the eyeball.
Was it Clockwork Orange?
No.
No, I don't think that's where they had to hold his eyes open to watch the movie.
Yeah. See, I didn't like that too. I'm like, I need to blink for you. But no, I cannot remember the movie. And it was every time they had to go shoot the kids in the eye, if they give them a shot in the eyeball to make them good.
Ugh.
And like the kids are all like, not zombie, but they're definitely like, hey, why are you acting like this? But like, I cannot, ever since I watched that movie, I'm like, nope, can't do eyeball scenes.
Mine's Dead Space 2, and if you know, you know.
Oh yeah.
No,
I've seen the clip. I know what you're talking about. I've never played the game, but
yeah,
I watched him play it.
My argument for who gets it the worst is Eric. I think Eric gets it the worst in this movie.
Yeah, as much as I don't like his character, yeah, he does. Yeah,
he gets it because he gets it multiple times. Yeah,
he gets it multiple times.
Which out of all the characters that probably deserves it because he started everything, he's probably get it the worst.
We failed to mention he gets stabbed in the lung, like the top, like it would be the upper part of his lung, upper part of his chest,
with that,
and that
broken glass. Yeah,
it breaks off in his chest.
Yep. Yeah, he gets it pretty bad.
Not the last time he gets.
No.
But yeah, he comes out and he's like, I think this has to do with the book I read from. And they're like, well, fuck.
Why'd you read from it, man?
Way to go, Dr. Dickhead. What are you doing?
So this is when Natalie is gonna help. She goes into the kitchen to get stuff to help clean Eric up, and she notices that the basement door is wide open.
Yeah.
And this is when Mia, the deadite Mia, is playing mind games with her, like using her actual voice to be like, help me. Like, I need help. And of course, Natalie, what does Natalie do? She goes down fucking stairs. And there's like 2 or 3 times you see a shot where a character steps on the top step, which is almost broken.
Yeah. And I pointed that out to him because he pointed it out in this scene, and I'm like, you missed it the first time. They're like, oh, watch out, the stairs are rotted.
Yeah, this scene on the stairs is rough.
This is probably the gnarliest one in my opinion. Like, this is probably one of the craziest scenes in the movie between Mia and that chick.
So she goes down the basement stairs because Mia's kind of sitting on the bottom, like, help me. You really got to help me. And she's like, oh, okay. I'm like, you're an idiot, Natalie. And then, of course, she turns around. Mia turns around, and it's Deadite Mia, and she goes up and attacks her. And of course, Natalie's trying to crawl her way out of the basement, but the step breaks, and she gets kind of trapped down there. And that's when you get the eerie scene where Mia is sniffing her leg all the way up to
licking her leg.
Yeah,
licking her leg. Ew.
I was like, you could kick any time.
She's like, I can smell
you can do something to defend yourself.
Yeah, I can smell your stinky soul.
Oh.
Like,
and that's one of the more gnarly scenes of the movie with the razor blade.
Oh, with the box cutter, and she cuts her tongue.
Box cutter on her tongue.
Yeah,
that was the second one on the whole
movie.
And to be honest, that's not even the worst. Like slicing her tongue is bad, but then she immediately goes and like has a makeout session with Natalie, and you're like, oh no.
But she doesn't just slice her tongue; it's like full on, like
licks straight down.
She just licks
straight down.
Splits your tongue like a snake tongue.
Damn, you're looking at Angela like so intently as she's like, show me.
Because it's
How
not
does it
just
go?
her. I have accidentally licked something sharp, and cutting the end of your tongue, it hurts. But she like slices through her tongue.
Yeah.
Mia just leans into Natalie. She's like, "Give me some sugar, baby," and then just like lays it on her.
Someone needs to make a clip with that, like right before she like, "Give me some sugar, baby."
Deadite Mia also says something else too. I can't remember the exact line, but I won't repeat it.
She says a couple things.
Yeah, well, we'll get to the other one that she states.
What she says to her brother, you mean?
Yeah, so she bites Natalie's hand. And you're like, ooh, that's gonna go somewhere.
Dude, she bites in a sensitive spot.
Yeah,
too.
it's right between the thumb and the pointer finger. Yeah,
that's exactly where
there. That is not.
And Evil Dead 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right in that same spot because it's like his girlfriend's head that he's holding in his lap.
Yeah, and he's like
throwing it around.
So David pulls her out, and this is when he confronts
has his pull-out game
with
is strong.
Deadite Mia, and she goes, "Why don't you come down here so I can suck your fucking cock, pretty boy?"
And you're like, whoa, I didn't know incest was going to be in this movie.
I was like,
And that's
Well,
and she also
well-
is like, "Your sister's getting raped in hell." And you're like, "Oh my god, these lines."
I'm surprised she's like, brother, come down here. I'm stuck in the dryer.
And it's like immediately they're nailing the fucking thing down.
Yes,
Nope,
he's doing
nope.
the chain with the nails and all that. Yeah.
Maybe in the hills, but I didn't sign up for this shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nope.
So
That's
Eric,
too far.
I get certain Easter eggs, but I'm like, dude, that's not gonna hold her.
yeah. So Eric tries to burn the book, and he's like, "It doesn't burn."
Yeah, he's freaking
Oh
out.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
such a cool scene, dude.
It just won't burn.
Like he's sitting there. I'm like, he wouldn't be after getting what he got. He would not be sitting there like he's comfortable.
Yeah.
No, I just
So
'Cause, like,
here's
even
where
what's
I
his name?
assume.
The brother pulled that huge piece of glass out of his chest.
I know, it's the whole idea. Don't do that.
Yeah,
but here
but
I
they keep doing that through the whole thing. They're pulling out
Taking
stuff they
shit
shouldn't
out
be
of
pulling
people.
out. Like, you're supposed to leave it in.
Yeah.
later
Oh,
later
yeah,
on, I'm
that's-
like, I'm like, you probably shouldn't have removed that, but
Yeah.
okay.
As I
Yeah.
stay, I love mentioning when my wife comments on things when I watch movies with her, because she said the same thing. She's like, aren't you supposed to leave that in?"
Yeah, I'm like, you
Thinking back on Steve
Especially
Irwin,
when-
should have left that
Yeah.
in.
Parker leans over to his wife. I wish you'd tell me that more often.
That's what they said. They should have left
how
it
you
in.
get babies.
I love you. I
Poor
I miss
Steve,
him.
rest in peace. I do too, man.
But no, like the whole taking things out of people, like he would not be in the position he was in after bleeding that much.
Mm-mm. No.
Yeah.
And I'm like, here I am thinking, oh, he's possessed
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
She's like, he needs. What does he need? Water and sugar or something?
Yeah,
Sugar.
water and
Water.
sugar.
Oh God! I was like, I need
Well, I
more
forgot.
sugar,
We-
water,
we forgot to
sugar,
mention-
soup.
Water.
We
Or-
forgot to mention that Eric beats Deadite Olivia with the corner of the sink.
Oh God, dude!
bashes her
After
head
she
in.
knocks
Bashes
it
her head
off,
in.
Yeah.
like she knocked
Yeah.
the whole corner of that sink off with just
I
her
love how he
head.
just instantly tries to defend himself when people run into. He's like, "She attacked me.
Yeah.
She attacked me first. She tried to kill me."
Like, you slimy fuck. I mean, I know that's what actually happened, but I can guarantee you're that kind of
but,
guy.
like, yeah.
Does
little
something wrong
fishy.
and you just point to somebody else.
Yep.
So
Well, of course.
So Eric is trying to explain what he thinks is happening here, with him reading the book and the incantation he read and all that's happening. Natalie is in the kitchen trying to clean her hand up, and we're getting the whole kind of a slight callback to Evil Dead 2, where she's squirting the pus out, the black pus out of her wound, but also her hand is starting to twitch and stuff. And I'm like, I really wanted her
bubbling
hand to
up
come
her
alive and
arm.
just like, but it
do
doesn't. Yeah, but I love when Deadite Mia is just peeking through the basement,
Oh,
Yeah.
it's so good,
and
dude.
she's just like,
Don't cut it
laughing.
off. Don't cut it off, you fucking bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like everything from this point on with Mia, just until I love because she's just down there like
He's having a good old time.
Oh, she's having a great time.
eating it up.
But that's the thing.
Love
Is
it.
this is where we get another callback to the original Evil Dead, because she does the na na boo, we're gonna get you.
I
And
like
then,
the
she's laughing, and then of course she grabs the cutter to start cutting her. Don't do it! Don't do it! No!
I like the thing I like about this is she realizes like once she gets one person up there, it's like she's good. Like she's got it.
It's
Yeah.
it's so good.
Now, did anybody else like? Because I know that you guys watched this recently. When I remember watching this in theaters, I got the impression that it seemed like they were trying to make David the Ash of
Yes.
this movie. Like
Yeah.
they were kind of luring you into your thought of making him like the final person, the final guy of the movie. Like, and
Yeah.
he's even dressed like Ash. He has like the blue like button up. He doesn't have
Yeah.
the brown pants, but they kind of made him look like Ash, and then they made you seem like he was going to be the final, final guy of the movie. But
Yeah.
they switch it around, as we'll get to.
So we then get David. He's still not kind of fully accepting everything that's going on right now. He doesn't accept the fact that his sister is not his sister, and everything that is going on. Everybody's dead. Because he's talking to Eric, like as Eric is like in rough shape, and he's pretty much just like, well, I'm gonna get Mia, and I'm gonna, I'm gonna get what's her name, Natalie, and we're gonna get out of here. It's gonna be okay. Like kind of just completely oblivious to everything that's going on. And then you have Eric, who started all this shit, is like, this is what we need to do. You need to kill your sister. And I would have been like, fuck you, man. Like, yeah, I understand if that's actually what I have to do, but you're the fucking asshole who did all this shit.
You started all
Yep,
of this.
he did. And well, the funny thing is, though, is even David's like, well, if it's like a virus or something. He's like, what the fuck?
He's like, what kind of virus does this, man?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like trying to
Shit ain't cabin fever, bro. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Me the whole time, like, yeah.
So Deadeye Natalie comes out with a nail gun. She just starts shit. This is when Eric gets more fucking. What do you mean not yet?
No, because they check on her in the kitchen because she screams. Remember?
Oh yeah, and she's like, I had to do it, and her arm is just hanging by one tendon, and it snaps, and it falls on the floor,
and the blood's just pouring.
And they're all just like, what? Yeah, I feel much better now. Yeah, but then she comes out as a Deadeye and starts shooting up the place with the nail gun.
She has like nails in her face and stuff too. Like she was shooting herself.
Thing with her hand, like it's it's doing things itself. Like it's trying to.
It's trying to do the Evil Dead 2 thing.
It's trying.
Which she didn't get. See, the thing is, she's trying to cut it, but she didn't get it cut all the way off before it went.
Before she got infected.
When she's sitting in the floor, it's doing its thing where it's like trying to.
Oh man, that scene in Evil Dead 2 when he cuts off his hand and the hand is just like runs away and it flips him off.
I love it. It's so good.
So the whole nail gun thing happens. Eric just gets fucked up with the nails. And
again, he just
and then she grabs a crowbar and just goes to town on both of them. It's the crowbar from when they get there. She's just beating the shit out of Eric. Then she beats the shit out of David.
And it goes down through his hand. It goes down through his hand. It splits his whole hand in half.
Oh my
with
god!
He has hot dog fingers.
And of course, she's going to go for like the killing blow, and that's when David blasts her arm off, and that's when she like goes back to being regular Natalie's like,
love that shot of just no arms, just bleeding.
And then she like crawls into his lap.
Like her arm is just going.
Just squirting. Yeah.
She's trying.
And then as Natalie dies, Eric's just over there laughing about it.
I'm surprised he's conscious after taking those 2 hits to the head.
He's just like
the head with a crowbar.
How am I still alive here?
I'm honestly surprised he's conscious after everything he's been through.
Yeah.
So this is when David figures out he's got to destroy all the bodies. He burns Olivia's body in the bathroom. He dismembers Natalie in the shed. And then he's going to burn the house down with Mia inside.
This is not in the theatrical cut.
Yeah, I was going to say, this must be in the unrated cut.
Because you get a whole montage of like him like going through this whole thing.
Yep.
It doesn't show that in the theatrical version.
And then then he's about to set the house on fire, and the only reason he doesn't is because Mia starts singing the song that they talk about earlier in the movie.
That's in the movie, but the other stuff, that's not in the theatrical one.
Yeah,
which they should have. They should have showed how he was like getting rid of the other bodies.
It was the NC-17 rating, apparently. It like just pushed it to that.
Okay.
Yeah, because he bags Natalie up, and you actually see him like chopping her up. So this is when
you get that unrated version.
Oh, so good.
Right?
So David gets a message from God, literally, as the fucking lightning bolt strikes a tree, sets it on fire. And this is when he goes into like a build montage to save his sister. And at first I was like, what the fuck is he building? I didn't even know what he was building at first. He's just going through these things.
Play Minecraft.
Yeah.
I thought he was like, I'm not gonna lie to my
for no reason.
Why did he cut off his hand? His hand was fine.
No, I was like, okay. No, it's it just made me think he's like, I can't throw the lighter on the ground myself. I'm gonna rig up this elaborate solution where it's just gonna detonate the house and I get away from it. That's what I seriously thought was gonna happen.
I would have turned off the movie.
The survivors in Evil Dead series are just like they turn into MacGyver.
Yeah.
As soon as they need something, they're like, "Yep, I gotta build up." Like, what did he build? It was like a
essentially a
defibrillator out of a car battery. Yeah.
Well, admittedly, he did mention he did run a garage, so he has some technical.
Yeah. That was his expertise.
Yeah, his expertise of sorts. So it's not just pulling it out of his ass.
Yeah.
So after all this is done, he's got to go back into the basement to retrieve his sister. And I'm like, that sounds like an awful idea. This is when you get like Mia just gliding around the basement. She's not walking, she's not running, she's gliding across to attack him and just tosses him around this one room that's flooded. And there's there's like a well down there. Yeah.
It's like all flooded now.
Yeah, and she's trying to drown him, and Eric stops her. You don't really know how.
Somehow
he just bashes
dude
her.
is somehow just still walking
still
around.
alive. Yeah, and then he dies.
No, it says it shows.
He's still conscious.
It shows what it is. It's the box cutter. He gets the box cutter because after like he gets up he's like, oh, I'm alive. He's like over there, and then like the altercation. What's his name? Fucking Eric's got it sticking out of his body. You look at his lower region, you see it sticking out of his body. Yeah.
Well, he gets her off, and
whoa.
Yeah,
not like that though, guys.
He probably did.
He gets her off of David before she drowns him, and I just love how Eric just dies, and David just goes,
finally
hey, float
just
away.
Sits him in the water.
Just float away, Eric. Just float
he just,
away.
Like lays him down into the water. Like you couldn't have just leaned him up against the wall or something.
No, he's like, bye, Eric.
He might not be dead, but we're gonna drown him anyway.
Yeah,
you
just lit him on fire right there. Like Viking burial. Just
also, David drugs her too, so he can,
Yeah, that's why he has his syringes.
Yeah. So he dresses her up in a nice purdy red dress. He puts a plastic bag over her head and buries her alive. And this is when the Deadite version of her tries to manipulate him, trying to talk like her, and what are you doing? Why are you doing this to me? Help me! Why do you hate me so much?
It reminds me of The Exorcist, man.
Yeah.
Why you do this to me, Timmy?
Yeah.
Why you do this to me?
And it's weird. I don't know if it was. I mean, I think it was all practical, but in the movie, it kind of looks like a projection inside the mask. Like it doesn't look like it's her actual face inside the bag, which I mean, she definitely didn't have a plastic bag over her face,
like
but it looked like Jesus Christ, I can't talk. Projection that was shining inside the bag. It just looked weird. It looked odd to me. But that's she's like, your mother's waiting for you in hell. And so he buries her, and then the tree goes out, like the flame goes out on the tree, and that's when he's just like
heartbeat with it the whole time, like with the
heartbeat
stuff, and then it stops. Yeah, it's a cool idea. I like how they kind of brought this, like you can bring someone back from being a deadite in a certain way.
Well, it's cool, and plus, like when it was just sitting there and the tree just went out, I was like, oh, they turned the oxygen off on set. Just went out.
So,
and you notice his breath. It's you can see his breath at that moment. I didn't notice it before, but he breathes out. I didn't see his breath. Like, oh, weird.
So, with that, he digs her out, and he tries to resuscitate her. And I was like, why didn't you take the bag off her head? Why is the bag still on her head as she's trying to get her to come back to life? You're like, take the bag off.
It just made me think of that one clip, and this is because I've watched it on Dead Meat. I've never seen it, but Tammy and the T-Rex with the doctor. He's like, live, damn it, live. Well, I'm all out of ideas, and just like walks away.
This would not work. Just saying.
No, defibrillators don't do this.
I've taken CPR class.
They don't do this.
They only put your heart back into rhythm when it's out of rhythm.
Yeah,
so your heart has to still be beating.
So the thing is it wasn't a regular defibrillator, because like a defibrillator sits on top of the body. He used like needles, like it like stabs into her.
But it's still the premise.
I'm guessing that might.
He needs to shock her heart back.
I don't know if that would. I don't know.
She wouldn't be standing up immediately afterwards either.
How does she so clean? She's so clean when she wakes up. Bitch, you just went through hell and back, and you are like you just took a shower before you showed back up again. Yeah. Like what the hell?
Her face was all burned up with 3rd-degree burns, and now it's just totally fine.
And all the
tongue was split down the middle.
Came out of her mouth. Like, hello.
I guess when you're a deadite and when you're human, it doesn't like coexist. Like they don't coincide with each other. Yeah.
Take a shower.
Apparently, dirt bath.
So David goes back. He's like, "Well, this is the end, guys. This is the end of the movie. We're gonna go back in. I'm gonna grab the keys. We're gonna hop in the Jeep and we're gonna get the fuck out of here." And he goes to grab the keys, and that's when he takes a little long because he sees the picture with him and all his friends. He's like, "I gotta take this," and then Deadite Eric stabs him in the neck.
Out of all of them, this is the one I was like, "Don't pull that out, dude. This is the one you need to keep in there."
Yeah, this is what was it? It was like needle nose wire cutters.
No,
dude.
it was pliers. It wasn't needle nose. It was like legitimate pliers. Like, dude, leave them in.
Yeah,
I got you.
So he pulls it out. He's bleeding to death. He goes out and he's going to sacrifice himself to destroy.
If you are covering a wound, don't do this over your wound and leave the wound.
Okay, you had to see the blood. It's a fucking movie.
I like the POV shot when he's walking, like stumbling out of the room, and you see the guy like just staring at him, and then you just see him walk. Like I don't know. It's just kind of like I don't know.
Did you notice they kept with the continuity because when he has the pliers, what's his name? Eric's using his left hand because he used his right hand earlier to block, and it fucked his hand up. The crowbar. He's using his left hand for the pliers.
Yeah. So yeah, he decides he's going to sacrifice himself, and he shuts the door in Mia's face. And he sets the cabin on fire. And listen, I understand you're dying, but you're going to react when your leg goes up in flames and your body is just starting to burn. And he's just sitting there like nothing's happening. I'm like, what?
No screaming, no nothing.
What? Like, I understand. Like, you know you're going to die, but like you're still going to react to being on fire, which is one of the worst ways to die.
Oh yeah.
So we then, Mia gets the mirror necklace. But also we forgot to mention the fact that the book pretty much states the Deadites have to collect 5 souls, which then once those are collected, it awakens like a version. Yeah, just releases a demon. Of some
abomination
sort.
Or something, or whatever they call it,
which
looks
is
like the demon that's been following her around like the whole movie.
Yeah, which looks like
literally written in the book like Shaitan or something like that. It's written.
It's written in a few different ways. There's like regular Satan and like Shaitan or Shaitan.
Yeah, Shaitan.
Question.
Who's
the 5th soul?
Teacher.
It's not me.
Is it the dog?
Either the dog or the girl at the very beginning.
That makes sense. Actually, the girl in the beginning makes a lot of sense. She was just a Deadite.
Unless it maybe counts Mia because she technically died, and then they brought her back. Maybe.
Dogs don't have souls, remember.
But in all technicality, she did die.
Yeah, so maybe that counts. I don't know.
But most people believe when the soul leaves the body, you can't. Like that's your soul. Like it's got nothing to do with the living flesh. People that I've read that go into that. So whatever. Because you can't collect the soul and then get it back. That doesn't count.
Yeah.
It's like
can't do that. That's cheating.
No take back.
Hey, listen. Fucking Davy Jones said the same thing about Jack Sparrow when he came back. So
that's true. He's like, you still owe me a soul. Jack Sparrow.
There's a term for that.
That's what the demon should have said when it came up. You still owe me a soul.
There's a term for that we cannot use because.
What? Catholicism?
No.
I believe in the power of our Lord and Savior Satan Christ.
No, there's a term that is used that you cannot use this day and age.
Oh,
okay. That's true. I know what she's talking
about. Is it a term that if we said it on the podcast, we could get canceled?
Probably.
Okay.
I can say it, but you'd have to cut it.
It's not derogatory. It's just not accepted.
So if you said it, we might get another 1-star review on the podcast.
You'd have to cut it.
All right.
We'll tell you afterwards.
Yeah, I'll tell you afterwards.
I'd keep it in just to see what would happen.
Oh, shit. Please don't let it come from me. I'll let him say it, but not from me.
I'll fall on that bull. Like, oh.
He's already got us one, so.
What happened, sir? You get shot? Well, no. I fell on a bullet. It just kind of drove itself into me.
Oh, God. So it starts to rain blood. And the demon has awakened. I just love how she's looking down at the necklace. And then the arm shoots out of the ground and grabs her. And she's like, ah!
Yeah.
Before she picks it up, it's in the shape of a skull.
Yeah, the chain and the necklace. Yeah.
Like the original, like the way that the necklace is on the floorboards of the original Evil Dead.
So Mia faces off with the demon that has her face.
Very genderless. Looks almost like a bro. But like there's like not really a lot of like sexual features to the body.
Yeah, I mean it's a demon.
I mean they're demons. Yeah.
I mean the drawings like demons with titties and stuff, but this one's like we're
I think
past
the Deadites. There were Deadites. They were the Deadites could have titties because they're just They're just in the bodies of actual people.
Yeah, but there's actually
this is a demon.
But I enjoy the whole like the raised spine of it.
Yes.
Yeah. It
Just
has some
creepy.
exaggerated.
It's like,
and I was like,
It's like super tall and
it's like,
skinny.
I don't need to be scared of you. I just need to give you some food because clearly you need it.
Dude, we got square bread in the kitchen, bro. You can eat all you want.
We even got the cutter here. It might have a little blood on it, but
if you want some raw meat.
There's still some meat
there's
in
an
there
arm in there. You can gnaw on that if you want.
If you want there's some cocaine I threw down the well earlier.
Heroin. It was heroin.
I'm sorry.
That'll help too.
Relevant point that I thought this was classy. There was no nudity in this movie.
You see a nipple on the demon.
Where?
On the demon.
And Brett's like,
it.
I saw it.
It wasn't to be honest, I was like, I wonder.
Correction, there is.
Parker's like this the whole time.
It was like one shot where the demon like crosses and there's like just light and you kind of just, it's clearly not the performer's nipple. It's definitely a prosthetic. So whatever.
I was looking. I was like, I gotta find something to talk about.
I guess that's just what I look for now in movies. I just try to find the nipples.
Poisoned your mind.
Listen, it was a naked demon. You're gonna look for a nipple, right? So yeah, she goes to the shed. She gets the chainsaw. She's like running. She crawls through like a couple tunnels and stuff. She finds the chainsaw, but it's out of gas.
Oh man!
So she's got
that fucking machete comes through the
cuts
wall,
through her,
through her leg. And it's like a rusty machete
on the knee, on the fucking knee. I'm like,
it's just her kneecap.
Dude, it's awful.
And it even makes like the screeching sound through the metal and
it's bad enough when you hit your fucking your knee, like your tendies on like a corner or something. You feel like you're dying.
Yeah.
But then she gets it again through like right above the elbow, and I'm like,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Those are sensitive areas.
I think getting stabbed anywhere.
It's so much adrenaline though. She clearly doesn't feel it much because she gets in there, finds the chainsaw. It's out of gas. She does a cool move where she fucking bumps the shelf and then catches the gas. And
yes,
that's in a plastic bottle. Like, no.
So fun.
No, you can. You can.
In like a water bottle?
Not in a water bottle.
That's what it looks
because
like.
Because after a while it would deteriorate the water.
It looked like a water bottle.
You can use it temporarily. I've done it before.
Also,
but
this demon is an idiot. Like, this demon is not good at its job because, for one, Mia is very close and she's hiding behind a Jeep. This Jeep is not a lifted Jeep. It's not a big one. Clearly the demon would see her on the other side of the Jeep, but she lays down on the ground and crawls under the Jeep. You'd still be able to see her. You still would be knowing that she is that she is under there. And the demon just like, I'm gonna hobble over to the side of the Jeep. Oh no, my ankles! Just gets her feet cut off. Oh my god. And this is when she's trying to escape, and the demon, who's got superhuman powers, just fucking huffs the Jeep onto her arm.
Bro.
Wow.
Excruciating pain. Oof. She's trying to just to see that skin pulling on her arm.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That is definitely one of those.
She's like putting her feet up against the Jeep
and pulling,
trying to push too. Oh.
And that's what
I was watching Saw movies where you're like, ooh, you feel that pain.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it though when the demon like peeks around the corner and he's just like, I'm so sick of this shit.
Yeah.
And so she rips her hand off and she gets up and kind of like stuffs her stump into the top of the chainsaw. And she just the demon's like, I'm gonna eat your soul. And she's like, eat this, and fucking shoves it into its mouth. And just goes to town
the whole movie, man.
Screaming, covered in blood. She like rips through its head, she rips all the way through its body. And then and then you see like the split like body of the demon like soak back into the ground. And then as soon as that happens, the rain immediately stops.
Yep.
I love that, just far away, like not super far away, but that far away shot of just the cabin on fire while she's sawing through.
It's such a great shot. Yeah,
it's great while it's raining blood. It's so badass.
And the whole demon with its eyes is like looking, but you can see it looking in two different directions.
Yeah.
It's trying.
It's so good.
I love it.
It is.
So she finds the necklace and wanders into the woods. And we then see the Necronomicon like flipping through the pages, and then it closes. And then the
sun came out finally. Like the sun out
finally. So
nice
this is how the theatrical version ends, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So in the unrated version, we get a mid-credit scene where Mia is wandering down the road, like on a main road, and she collapses, and then a truck with an older gentleman pulls up and is like, "Oh, do you need some help?" And it's like, clearly, I'm missing my fucking hand, and I'm dead, pretty much. And yeah, he puts her in the back of the truck and is going to drive her to a hospital. And it's one of those things where it kind of zooms in on her closed eyes, then her eyes open. You expect them to be dead eyes, but it's just her regular eyes. And I was like, oh, okay.
Was anybody special? Like the driver? Was it like a cameo?
No, I thought it was going to be Bruce Campbell. I really thought it was going to be somebody. Him. Yeah. I mean, it could have been, I wish it was fucking Sam Raimi. Like, just give me somebody.
Oh, man. Yeah. Or at least Ted Raimi.
Yes.
Like that.
Yes. It's Henrietta just wandering up. Like, yeah, let me help you there, young lady.
Dead by dawn.
No, the trucker just takes her to a hospital, and it's the house from Texas Chainsaw.
No.
Damn it,
Grandpa.
Grandpa
comes out,
and they're both like comparing chainsaws. They're like, mine's better.
Yes.
And then of course you get the post-credit scene, which is in the theatrical version, which is just Ash just turning to the camera and saying groovy. And I was like, why is this in this? Like, I understand it's for fan service, but it didn't need to be here.
I remember like waiting in theaters on opening weekend to see if there was, and like the crowd went wild when that happened.
Oh, I bet.
Like groove. Oh my God, Ash is back.
But I will say, all the shit that Mia went through in this movie, she fucking deserves to get out.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I love the way they switched it around. Like I mentioned, you thought it was going to be like her brother was going to be the one that came out in the end, and then they found a way to bring her back. And she survived everything.
But see, he calls his own death at the beginning.
Yeah.
Like when you say something about being there at the end or whatever, like not even.
Yeah, we've said it. He said it. He's like, we're like, he's
like, I'm gonna be with you till the end. And I'm like, well, nope, he's dead.
You're dead.
Literally what we did.
To be honest, I was okay with it. I could not stand David the entire movie. I thought he sucked. I just didn't like the performance. He was so like, when I mentioned in the beginning of this episode, the fact that like, I think Evil Dead Rise and this Evil Dead are like pretty on par with each other for me. It's mostly because the beginning of this movie just has really lackluster performances. They're just such dry dialogue and just like no one shows any emotion. Like David's just the worst. Like he doesn't show any emotion for his sister at all. And it's just like very wooden. Yes, wooden is
like the cabin.
Perfect description. Yeah, exactly. The cabin had more of a personality than David.
It did. It really did. It really did.
He needed to switch places with Olivia. And
Olivia. If Olivia was the character to make it to the end and do the whole thing with Dave, I think it would have meant more because I liked her character a lot.
Yeah.
Like make it just be her sister. Whatever. It's just, he sucked. I just didn't like him.
But it's great when you notice a character from what they've been in.
Yeah.
If you've seen them later on, like I recognized her. I was like, I know who that is. But yeah.
I mean, other than Jane Levy, I haven't really seen anybody else in this movie in anything else.
I mean, it's just that Jessica Lucas. Like I watched Gotham, so I knew her from that. I couldn't remember what her character's name was, but I remember her being in that show.
I watched The Resident, and I want her and the main character to get together.
That's gross. We don't need to know
that. She was his wife's best friend.
I know, I'm just messing.
All right, on our next episode of The Resident.
Yes, please.
So as you know, every week we post on Twitter and Instagram, pretty much stating when we're watching the movie, and you guys can leave your comments of what you thought about the movie. So we're going to read some. We have Flicks and Friends who decided to post both on Twitter and Instagram. So I'm going to blend both those comments together. When he says it's probably my favorite remake of all time, and then he said that this one is way better than Rise. He liked this one way better than Rise. And they got some Flicks and Friends merch going on over there.
Nice.
We have
scoop me some of that.
We have Nerd Revert who says just watched it for the first time. Takes a bit to get going, but once it does, it's a lot of fun.
I thought it cruised through fine, but that's fair. I can see that.
I mean, it's only an hour and a half, which is perfect. Our next one is for Movies for Days, who says excellent, easily one of the best horror remakes in modern cinema. Tangents of Horror says, just reviewed this not long ago on the show. So freaking good. So make sure to go check out Tangents of Horror episode on Evil Dead. Epic Film Guy says it's a near masterpiece. Ooh, masterpiece. Well, he said near. So it's not.
Near.
It's not a masterpiece. Good. It's near it. So I respect it.
It's like a Van Gogh, but somebody just looks kind of weird.
Somebody like fucked up the corner. Like they put a different color.
If that acting
like,
was a little better,
yes.
like you said, then I would definitely consider it to be close to, if not a masterpiece.
It's possibly. I will agree. This is probably one of the greatest remakes of all time.
Mm-hmm. It's up there. It's good.
If you want, like you said, if you want to consider it like a remake.
Yeah, depending on how. Yeah. The Baron's Hideout podcast says, love it. The one series other than Chucky I can say is super solid. I can agree, because the Chucky series, even with the exception of Seed, which Seed is probably the worst one, but it's still a good time. The Chucky series is pretty consistently good. And people who say that Child's Play 3 is bad, you're bad.
Attacking our audience?
Yeah, I'm attacking you. No, Child's Play 3 is not great, but it's still a fun movie. The Knife Party podcast said there isn't a bad one in the whole series. Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street both have more bad than good, but Evil Dead are all 9 out of 10s. And I love this comment. It's just Cinema Poison says it's fine.
I didn't see that one.
That one's good. That one.
There's no way he thinks that.
Hey,
he's got a
simple and to the point. All right, let me move on.
I bet he fucking hates it. He's just being nice about it. He's being polite. Like,
oh god!
But wait, you said you were going to read somebody's comment twice.
No, I said I was going to blend their comment from both. I mean, I'll read it again.
You said now I'm going to accidentally read your comment twice.
Yes, because Flicks and Friends commented twice, and he's the only comment we have on Instagram. Because it says it's probably my favorite remake of all time, to be honest. And Evil Dead Rise didn't even come close to this one for me. So there you go. I read both Flicks and Friend podcast comments on this episode. So there you go. And those are our comments this week. Well, that was a blast. That was way longer than I expected it to be. But you know what? Fuck it. Don't care.
It was good.
It was a lot of fun.
It was a good time.
It was a great time. Wyatt, thank you so much for being here. It's always
having me back.
A blast
having
time. I mean,
yes.
Yeah. I mean, this is your second episode on the Core podcast. We've had you a couple times on for The Last of Us, which was a lot of fun, and it'll definitely not be the last time you come back on the show. And I can't wait to come back and talk about the Matrix, whatever the fuck we're on.
Revolution.
Yay!
That'll be in November.
I can't wait.
But I do need all of you on the show eventually at some point, though.
Yes.
Hey. I'm just glad we didn't have to be high to enjoy this movie.
Can I just say I enjoyed this movie better than the last movie we reviewed together. No offense.
We're in Deadeye country.
I understand.
Yeah, we can't stop here.
We can't stop here. We're in Deadeye country.
I was actually able to watch this one from start to finish.
It was good.
No, this one definitely makes more sense in the long grand scheme of things. There's
needed more lizard people. That was.
I mean, nothing against
lizard people.
Your last movie. I was definitely not lost halfway through. So.
Well,
yeah, give us a holler sometime. We'll be there. I don't know for what, but we'll be there.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm gonna make sure you guys can decide what movie you want to do whenever you come
I
on the show.
don't even care what it is. Like I could hate it. I just want to be there.
Yellow Submarine, The Beatles.
Jaws 3D.
That'll be an interesting.
It's been a while since
Jaws 3D.
I'm just. It's for her, not for me. I don't want to watch that shit. Not Jaws 3. Well, I don't mind Jaws.
Hey, Jaws 3D. It's 30th anniversary or 40th anniversary this year.
Dude, everybody's doing anniversaries.
Too bad.
Man, I've done it.
We got plenty of movies we're going to be talking about coming up that have anniversaries.
Yeah.
But as much fun as it is to kind of venture away from the franchises we're covering for a week, next week we're back talking more Pirates of the Caribbean with the fourth entry of the franchise, Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides. Yes, you see that right for anyone watching the video. That's the 3D version, baby. And have I watched it in 3D? Absolutely not. I own so many 3D Blu-rays and never watched them in 3D.
Because nobody has 3D TV anymore.
Why did I buy them? They were more expensive.
Some 3D glasses that you get to keep forever.
I'm actually excited. I haven't seen this one in a while, but I remember. I mean, I got stories about this movie, but yeah, we're talking about the fourth entry. Over the next couple of weeks, we'll be talking about On Stranger Tides, and then the fifth entry, Dead Men Tell No Tales. That's a lot of words.
I'm gonna have to watch those episodes because I haven't seen anything past 3. I only seen the first 3.
If you have Disney Plus, they're all on Disney Plus, so you can watch them before you watch or listen to our episode. So do that. When you listen to this, our $5 tier on Patreon will be live, and we're going to have a Patreon exclusive episode for Harbinger Down, which is a movie that kind of connects to the Alien franchise that we mentioned a long time ago. People will be like, what the fuck is that? It's on Tubi. You should watch it. It's only like an hour and 20 minutes. It's a good time, but it's going to be a Patreon exclusive episode. That's already on there. Jurassic Park commentary track. We also have a show coming up in the works that'll be on that $5 tier. So make sure to subscribe over at the Patreon, patreon.com/dissect that film for all those goodies. And and a lot more coming up. So we're very excited. But Wyatt, what are you working on? What's coming up? So like, as we say every week, we record these like 2 or 3 weeks ahead of time. So Wyatt, try your best to talk about what you're going to be working on as people are listening to this episode. I know I put a lot on your plate.
Well, I mean, at the time of this probably coming out, I mean, we do, like I mentioned, have the 30th anniversary of Jurassic Park review coming out. We do have a new segment, like new show on the channel called Heroes of Our Time, where me and my buddy Vernon are going through every superhero / comic book movie in chronological order. We started with Batman from 1966. The next one we will be doing is Superman from 1978, Richard Donner's Superman. So be on the lookout for that one as well. And you pretty much find me anywhere. I mean, check us out on YouTube, Cinema Trip Reviews, pretty much anywhere you get your podcast, like Dissect Your Film, and on Twitter and Instagram as well at Cinema Trip Reviews.
And all the links to Cinema Trip Reviews will be down in the description in the show notes, so you won't have to look too far on that. Again, Wyatt, thank you so much for being here. It's always a blast getting to talk to you and getting to talk to guests in general about, movies, and especially movies that I haven't seen, or Dan and Angela haven't seen. It's always a good time to be able to talk about these movies, good, bad, or ugly, as we state at the beginning in the intro.
I've seen.
It's a good time. But thank you again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. I know it's going to be a blast every time.
We try, dang it. Parker makes it happen.
Yeah, I mean, I am a big fan of this show, so I mean, I get so excited when you guys invite me on because I know it's going to be a blast.
Well, we can't wait to bring you back on again.
Definitely, and like I said, you need to bring everybody on to old Cinema Trip Reviews here sometime.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah,
of course.
Mark it down, people. We don't know when, but mark it down. It's gonna happen. You can always find us at Dissect That Film on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. And we're on all the podcast services. Just put Dissect That Film. Make sure if you listen to us on Spotify, rate us 5 stars, please. The more reviews we get over there, or ratings we get over there, the more people will listen to our show. We have a fuck ton of people who listen to us on Apple Podcasts, just based on the numbers, and someone in Iowa, as of this recording, is really loving our show. So thank you to our fans from Iowa. And then last month, thank you to all our fans from California, because you guys are like the top 2 states in the last 2 months. So please, and all of our international listeners, you guys all rock too. I can't ignore all of you. But yeah, just leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps the show. It'll clear out that 1-star review we got for fucking whatever reason. And just do that. Yeah, it's all Dan's fault. Anytime that happens, it's Dan's fault.
I'm gonna wear a shirt. Like, if this becomes a problem, I'm just gonna wear a shirt that just says like just 1-star review on it. I'm just gonna wear it.
It's gonna be 1 star, and that's it.
All right. Well,
that one little review. Don't worry about that one little review.
Don't even that one. It's fine. Yeah. Until next time, everybody. I am Brett Parker. That is Dan and Angela of DNA Gaming, and that is Wyatt of Cinema Trip Reviews. And this has been the Dissect That Film Podcast, episode 111. We'll see y'all again next time. Bye-bye.